Very good. All right, we've got everybody here. Good evening and welcome to the October 15th, 2014 special meeting for the budget presentation. I'll call the meeting to order, and I would ask Linda Jenkins, would you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thanks, Linda. I normally try to warn people, but I've known you for years and years, so I knew you wouldn't mind. All right. So we've got our biennial budget process. I had given, at the last city council meeting, I had given my budget presentation. We're going to be going through the departments we're going to be going through tonight are the Finance Department, the Public Works Department, and the Parks Department. And then we have moved the next budget meeting from, I believe, from next Wednesday, the 22nd, because there is a major civic event. There are some debates occurring in the community. We have moved those to, I believe, the 29th. Is that correct? 29th at 6 p.m. In these chambers. And I believe law and help me out with police and court. That's right, at those meetings. So we've got just talking about the agenda right here. One sec. Boy, the print is so small I have to use my glasses. So the October 22nd meeting has been moved to October 29th. Then we've got a special meeting November 4th at 6 p.m. in which my office, the mayor's office, which will comprise of numerous different departments, but city council, human resources, information technology, and city clerk's office, community development, and then we'll have some council deliberations on November 4th. At 7 p.m. we have a regular city council meeting, and there'll be a public hearing on the budget. On November 18th at 6 p.m. there'll be a special council meeting if needed, or only if needed. And then at 7 p.m. on the November 18th meeting, we'll have the public hearing will be continued. We'll have the introduction ordinance for the biennial budget for 2015 and 16, and the introduction ordinance for the 2015 property tax levy. On December 2nd, 7 p.m., the regular city council meeting will be ready for an enactment ordinance for the 15-16 biennial budget, enactment ordinance for the 2015-16 property tax rate, and the resolution for fee schedule amendment. So that is what we have scheduled. And again, for today, Finance, Public Works, and Parks in that order. So without any further delay, we've got our Finance Director, Ade Arewalo, to give us the Finance Department presentation. And before we get started with that, were there any questions with that process and calendar? Okay. All right, and everybody's okay with the change of date from the 22nd to the 29th? All right, all right. Ade?
Good evening, Mayor, Deputy Mayor, and Council. It is with great pleasure for me tonight to present Mayor Farrell's first biennial budget and to go into detail with it. I think with the work of the council and the department director, I think we have before you, I think, a great budget that will take the city to a new level. First of all, I'm hoping that this budget will answer a few questions for you and what to look for in the budget book. How is the city doing as a whole? That is, the city in general, we have several companies. We are like a multi-company entity. So as a whole, how is the city doing? I'm hoping to be able to address that. Does this budget conform with our reserve policy? If it is not, why not? The council took the leadership in establishing some guidelines in terms of how much reserve we must have in each one of the funds. So I'm hoping by the time we're done with this presentation, we're able to show you that based on council's guideline, the budget conform with it. What is the difference between 2014 and 2015 budget? While you are looking through this book, I'm sure you'll be able to see some differences. I'm hoping to be able to highlight some of the areas in there for you. Also, while looking through this book, how come 2015 total revenue is less than 2014? I'm sure that question probably has crossed your mind. I'm hoping to be able to address that for you. Great. You are doing more staff. Mayor said he's planning to hire more police officers, but the total 2015 spending is actually less than 2014. Why? I'm hoping to help you understand that as well. There are ordinances about red light and Proposition 1 spending. Are we complying with that? Also, several years ago, the council passed some ordinances in terms of how you will spend the red light money. I'm sure you want to know, are we spending it based on those guidelines? The same thing with Proposition 1. General fund is the catch-all fund. How well is it doing? I'm sure you want to know that too. I'm hoping by the time we're done with this presentation, I'm able to show you how that fund is doing and that it is doing all right. During the park project presentation, we discussed that community center is needing less support from utility tax and utility tax revenue. I'm sure you want to know, is that still the plan in 2015-2016 budget? I'm hoping to show you that as well. So what major projects are we planning to undertake in 2015 and 2016? I'm hoping to highlight some of those for you. And also during the mayor's presentation, he spoke about no new taxes, structurally balanced budget, funding 1.5% COLA and union agreement, and some of the mayor's new projects at the King County Health Department are trying to keep that open, and 5 new police officers and 3 new cars, and funding Lakota Park. I'm sure you're wondering, where are those located in the budget? So I'm hoping by the time we're done, I'm able to address all these questions for you. Looking at our funds, as I mentioned earlier, and looking at the city as a whole, the city is a conglomerate of companies. Several companies that have their own checking account, have their own separate balance sheets, and have their own money that cannot be used for something else without the proper authorization. So as you are looking at these are all separate companies, even though they all roll into the city as a whole. So individual revenue in any of these are dedicated for specific use. So you cannot take money without proper authorization from one and use it for the benefit of the other. As I mentioned, each one of these companies have its own asset, its own liabilities, its own income statement, its own balance sheet. And that is part of why city government is a little bit more complicated than most single companies. Looking at this, I'm referencing your budget book right here. What I have on the screen is pretty much the same thing as what you have on your page B4. This is identifying the revenue, the spending for each one of those funds. You have our general fund right on top, and we're saying this is what we're starting out with, and this is what we're at the revenue in 2015, and this is what we're planning on spending in 2015, and this is what we will end the 2015 with. The same thing for all these individual companies. As I mentioned, great. You are showing this number. Is that really conforming with the policy that you've set? This is the same page that I just referenced in your book, but now putting your policy side by side with it. This last column right here is your policy about the fund balance, which says you must maintain certain fund balance, and if you don't, we need to explain that to you, and you need to be on board with it. For example, here's the first one, the general fund. Based on your policy, we must maintain 17% or 9 million. As of the end of 2015, we are projecting a little bit over 11 million. So this budget is operating within the guidelines that you've set. The same thing with most of these other funds. The utility tax, we have more than $2 million. We're projecting more than $2 million. The requirement is 1.5. You have special services. We have about 188. As of now, we do not have any requirement to maintain because it's intended for special project. Going down the line, the community center, and that is part of why we were able to tell you the community center may not need any more help from you. We're maintaining, you are asking us to maintain 1.5 million. This budget is saying, well, by the end of 2015, we will have more than 1.5 million. The same thing, traffic safety, REIT, Prop 1, all of those are staying within your guidelines. Just for we have all these that are mostly meeting or exceeding your guidelines. That is one of the first things that you're going to, yes, you have this great budget, you have all of that great ideas. Are they conforming with your rules? And I'm saying, based on your current fund balance requirement, yes, we are. The fund balance resolution is your resolution number 14664. And again, that is what I have on that white column, just to compare the numbers. If we look at the total city budget by fund, of course, the general fund is the biggest of them all. And the general fund is the catch-all fund. That is where majority of the property tax is received. And general fund is the only fund with so much latitude that you can use the money in any other place. Most of the other funds or companies cannot go the other way. General fund is the only fund with the flexibility to be able to use the money in any other places. This is the same, what I have on this page is the same as what you have on your page B1 of your budget book. That is showing how much we're projecting in property tax, how much we are projecting in sales tax, how much we are projecting in most of the major revenue source for the city. And how are we spending them by department? That also show what we're doing in individual department. And again, for clarity, that same information is available on your book on page B1. As I mentioned earlier, if you look at what we are projecting in 2015 to what we spent or what we have in the budget for 2014, it's much less. I'll go over that to be able to explain why we have less budget, despite the fact that we're proposing to hire more, why the total budget is less than what we're currently spending. This is the breakdown for our revenue. Major part of our revenue is coming from charges for services. We have a big portion that is coming from sales tax, from property tax, from utility tax, and from REIT. That is the breakdown of our revenue for the city. In terms of our spending, as you've insisted, the major part of our spending goes into protecting our citizens. Again, like Mayor pointed out, that he's proposing to hire a few more police officers to be on the street. That shows where most of the city's money is going. And behind the police, we want to maintain our infrastructures, maintain our roads. That is the public works. What I just went through gives you a little bit of idea of the city as a whole. Like I said, the city is a conglomerate of several companies. Now, I'm going to take a couple of those companies and just go a little bit in detail about what is in there. The general fund, that is the catch-all fund. In 2015, we are proposing a total revenue of $41.5 million compared to $42.5 in 2014. And in terms of spending, we are proposing $42.26 compared to $46 million in 2014. And right here in the middle, you say, well, I thought you said you have a structurally balanced budget. Why are you spending more than you are bringing in? Because the current revenue must match current spending. That's this 700,000 right there, and this 2 million in 2016. I'll show you where those came from. Again, this page is the same as what you have on your page D1. This is a breakdown of what is in the general fund. Almost 60% of revenue for general fund comes from taxes. More than 50% of what we spend in general fund are on the police and the protection of our citizens. about 700,000 that I just pointed out to you in 2015, this is what make up that 700,000. So we're using part of our fund balance to fund one-time operation. That is where that $700,000 deficit is going into. We're not using it for ongoing operation, we're using it for one-time spending. The same thing in 2016. The major part of that 2 million, the 2.3 million, is for the work on 352nd Street. One-time spending. Again, like Mayor said, structurally balanced budget. So we're taking, if we're spending fund balance money, we make sure we're spending that on one item, one-time item that will not require ongoing support. That information also is available on your page D1 and probably answer the question on 10B of the questions that I read at the beginning. Utility tax and REIT, that is our major source of revenue for funding either general fund or mostly the capital projects. Now, this is the total utility allocation, including the Prop 1 and the regular utility tax. Right here at the bottom, that is showing how we're planning to allocate the total utility tax revenue, the 7.75% utility tax. Yes, when that 7.7% was passed, you dedicated 1.75% of it to Prop 1. That is what we call Prop 1. So we are saying right here, out of the total tax money that we collect, this is the Prop 1 money. And right on top is the way we allocate the rest of them. Major part of utility tax revenue is used to support general fund and street fund, and of course the community center. And here we are with Dumas Bay, and what we pay for the Valley Communication Debt Service, and what we're contributing towards the overlay of our roads. And here we are, our debt service. Right to the right of that is the REIT money, the real estate tax money. Again, this is how much we're estimating our revenue to be, and this is how we're planning to spend it. Major part of it is going into transportation construction project program. This information also can be found on your page D6 and D13 of your budget book. For this budget, we've accumulated the funding for Prop 1 in a separate fund so that we can identify specifically whom and what we're paying out of that fund based on the resolution that established Prop 1. That is why you do not have anything in 2012, 2013, or 2000 or adopted 2014, because we didn't keep a separate fund for Prop 1. To make sure that the desire of the council and the citizens is strictly enforced, we put this money in a separate account. And we are tracking, we are paying John Doe, Mike Joe, whatever, out of that fund. based on the guideline and the policy that is set, major part of that Prop 1 is spent, again, on police. So we're looking at close to 80% of that is being used to support our law enforcement. Again, that is in compliance with your ordinance number 06-532. That is making sure that the guidelines that the council set, we're following them. Traffic Safety Fund, the so-called red light. Again, what we've done with this is if you look at the spending for 2012, 2013, 2014, there's nothing in there. All of it is lumped together right in here. Now, based on the council's ordinance, we've moved specific position, specific item to these funds so that we're paying them directly from this fund. So if you were to say, okay, you have 130 police officers, whatever, how many of them are you paying out of this fund? We can specifically identify how many and whom. Again, from your traffic light, major part of that is going for the security of our people and property, and also for safety of our roads. When we brought the fund balance policy to you, we also asked you to set up strategic reserve fund. We've made sure that that is funded and is sitting there. That information is also available on your page D16. The strategic reserve is broken down into two groups. One is 1 million, the other one is 2 million. It's to be tapped into in case of emergency. We're making sure that money is there for the rainy day. Hopefully it's not raining now. As I mentioned, what makes up for the strategic reserve is the contingency for unanticipated cost, 1 million, and strategic opportunity reserve, 2 million. If mayor and council decide this thing is a strategic opportunity or whatever, that means you have funds to tap into to be able to make that happen. Debt service fund. This is also, in the past, we've pretty much put this funding and REIT together. Part of the danger to that is when people see money in that and you call it debt, they think that entire amount is dedicated to servicing debt. No, our entire REIT money is not dedicated to just servicing debt. Yes, we use part of it to service our debt. So what we've done is have a separate fund for REIT and separate fund for debt. And again, based on the fund balance policy, you specify we must have certain amount. Are we there yet? No, we're not. But again, it's something that we can build up over time. This information is on your page D17. If you look at 2015 column, there's nothing in there for SCORE. That is part of why we're able to build up the fund balance for 2015. Yes, SCORE has now decided that they would not charge us for debt service in 2016, but we put something there. Yes, it would take the administrative board of SCORE to dedicate whatever savings that they make for the debt. I attended their meeting yesterday. If everything holds the way it is going, I have the feeling this amount that we have in 2016 will not be needed, and that will drop to build up that reserve again. That is part of why we did not try to create the reserve that will make what the policy is now. So as it is, I have the feeling by the middle of next year in 2015, the administrative board probably will vote to also use the excess money in SCORE to service their debt. We have it in the budget. That will drop to increase our fund balance. Our capital projects, we're putting some money aside to be able to do some of these projects that you see in there. That is what we have in the park project for this year. Again, that information is available on your page E3. Surface water management, that is an enterprise fund. Like I said, the city is made up of several companies. The surface water management fund is an enterprise fund that generates its revenue by charging the citizens for services. This is one of the few funds that are not subsidized at all by the general fund. They are self-contained. The council levy the fee to charge to make sure it's able to sustain itself. And they set aside money to repair and replace their equipment as they see fit. That information again is on your page E8 of your budget book. And this is a capital project. This pretty much gives about 6-year plan, but you have your 2015 and 2016, and again, this is projection. Even though you have this 5,000 in there, 5 million for 2016, as of now, that is now funded. But this is a plan for the transportation project. That information also is available on your page E22. Now we're getting into individual. I spoke briefly about the individual companies, individual funds. Now these are individual departments. Just a brief summary of what is happening in some of those departments. This is the mayor's budget. The major difference in there is the addition of one FTE administrative assistant in the mayor's office to be able to support the new economic development director, to support the kind of a work volume that is happening in there. Also, we increase the clerk's office from 0.88 to 1.5. Again, because of the workload, which the mayor spoke to during his presentation. And that is part of what account for some of the changes. In addition, also one thing that we've done, and I need to speak to that briefly, why is the total spending in 2015 less than 2014? What we've done in the past is, in the utility tax fund, we will transfer from utility, we will transfer it to general fund to pay for police. In the utility fund, we call it expense when we transfer it out. When we move it to general fund and we pay the police or pay whatever service, we also call it an expense. So we've accounted for these in two different places. That is part of why our budget was also big, because we have a couple of items that we're reporting in this company as an expense, and we're reporting it again in another company as an expense. So when you combine the total city budget together, you've accounted for the same thing twice. So we've eliminated some of those, and that is part of why some of those spending look smaller. Also, in general fund, it's like a husband checking account and wife checking account. The wife needs to pay for daycare. The husband says, okay, here's $500. So the wife reported as a revenue. But remember, it's the same account. So there's some transfer that we make between funds that we should just say, you want to pay for daycare? Pay for daycare. So we've eliminated some of this transfer back and forth. Also, we have a risk management fund, which I'll show you there briefly. In that fund, we were tracking the liability insurance for the city, health insurance, and the unemployment insurance. Those three items are different things. And the requirement for them are also different. Health insurance is city's money and employees' money. The way you can spend it is a little bit different. Risk management money, which is the liability, is where the city insures the building, the vehicles. That is entirely city's money. So now and then, of course, for the insurance of our vehicles, most of our vehicles are police vehicles. And police is in general fund. So we can say, okay, police, your bill is 1 million, or because Public Works, the portion that is in general fund, you have 5 cars, but the check is being written out of the same account. So what is the point of saying you owe 2 million, you owe 500,000? It's coming out of the same checking account. So some of those we've eliminated in order to make things much simpler. Elimination of one-time services and charges, that is part of what makes the mayor's budget look smaller. Elimination of Federal Way Community Center membership now used, and elimination of a portion of election services. Proposition 1, Ordinance 06, authorized funding of public defender. So instead of general fund, that is reported directly in Prop 1 funding. And this is the city council's budget. For training and travel, we increased the council budget a little bit to be able to allow the council to be able to attend to the things that they need to do. So there's some extra bucks in there for traveling and training, and that is part of why there's a little bit of a difference in this area. Internal services is accounted for in non-department. Again, like I explained, husband and wife, the same checking account, all of general fund, regardless of department that you are in, we're all taking money from the same account. Take, for example, finance department. By ourselves, we don't make any money. So how do you fund our budget? You know, so, but because we're being paid out of the same checking account, it does not really matter whether I make money or not. It's not any different from a wife that stays at home, take care of the baby, while the husband or whoever works. It's coming out of the same bucket. Community development, we have addition of adding one FTE director for community development, addition for temporary help for contract planner. Actually, that is just for contract to make sure, again, that is part of what makes this budget, from my perspective. Yes, we know the volume in community development is high. But do we want to hire 3 people now knowing 3 years from now what will happen? So, well, some of the construction that are happening or that will be happening are specialized construction. We're not going to be building new school every year. But the requirement that goes into construction of a new school is a little bit different from building an apartment complex. You can hire somebody, say, well, but the skill required to review and supervise a specialized building is different from what is required for regular residential building. And that is part of why Mayor is proposing we will use consultant based on contract. If 3 years from now the workload is still there, maybe we'll fill the position in a permanent form. But the projects that we're looking at for now are major projects that require specialized skill that we don't necessarily need to retain on our staff. That is part of being prudent. Elimination of one-time project for comprehensive plan update, which we did in the past. We don't need the plan update anymore. When that is needed down the road, we will bring that back to the council. Elimination of temporary help for building inspector. Remember, early this year, we filled some new positions. So instead of them being one-time, we've converted them to permanent staff. And they are able to be funded in the ongoing revenue based on what we just presented to you. Elimination of one-time building abatement fund. Move one FTE code compliance officer to Prop 1, because that is part of what you can use Prop 1 money to do. Move 0.5 FTE recreation coordinator to CDBG fund. Elimination of portion of community guardian funding and community service grant that we know are now funded. Finance department is one of the boring departments we have, and there's not really much there's not really much happening there. We're seeking additional FTE to help with the FEDRAC, help with the utility tax refund, help in those areas that are additional responsibilities that were assigned to the department early this year. That is a major difference in there, other than, of course, the interfund allocation that we used to charge back to each other. We report them directly in non-departmental. Why do we do that? We get a bill for insurance. Say, well, the city will be insured $1 million. As a director, do I have control over that? So we take that $1 million, chop it into pieces. Oh, police, you pay this. Finance, you pay this. I don't have a control over that amount. And we're saying those directors are responsible for that. They don't have control over them. So what we've tried to do is to make sure what is in the director's budget is what he or she is responsible for, that mayor can make him or her accountable for. But when we're charging this overhead that they do not have control over, all they will have to do, well, you charge me, I need more money. In 2014, there's some budget in there for finance, for the finance director search. I'm hoping we will not do that for the next few years. So, so we've removed that from the budget as well. As I mentioned, the internal service are accounted for in the non-departmental because directors are not responsible. They do not have control over it. We tell them our insurance is 1 million, and I come out with a reasonable way of allocating, but in terms of control, they don't. And this is the law department. I think as Mayor mentioned in his presentation last week, you know, we're making some few changes in there. Reclassification of deputy city attorney to assistant city attorney. That gives us some savings in there. Elimination of services and charges for one-time claims, brokers' fees, and insurance premium, professional service search for city attorney. Again, you know, with the position that we felt, there will not be any need for search for a new city attorney next year. We removed that. Elimination of one-time cost for wire theft, that was put in there to be able to do that function. The function is done and it's gone. As I mentioned earlier, creation of a separate unemployment fund, health insurance fund. So we moved these two items out of the risk management fund into their own separate funds, so that when you are looking at the health insurance premium, you have a true picture of what it is, what should be there. And when we're talking about the fund balance required for the health insurance, you can actually look at that and evaluate that independently by tracking them separately. So that is what we've done. In the municipal court, elimination of one-time temporary help and pro tem pay, moved 1 FTE court clerk and clerk 1 and 0.5 FTE George to proposition 1 fund. Again, instead of transferring money, we are moving position to those funds, so that again, when you are looking at it, you can say who is being paid out of Prop 1. I won't have to do any calculation. I don't have to be here for you to have that answer. It's more clear cut. You know who is being paid out of there. Elimination of services and charges for one-time implementation of core security system. We did that, so that is no longer needed. We remove it. Moved the core security services to traffic safety fund, again, because that is allowed in there. So that is now been burdened in the general fund. Some of these things we used to transfer the money from the traffic fund as a transfer, as an expenditure. Move it to the general fund, then in general fund, then we pay these people. So we account for it in 2 different funds. What we've done is move the position and the specific expenses to those funds. So they are accounted for once. Again, internal service is accounted for in non-departmental. That information is available on your page C85. This is what we have in the non-departmental. Addition of internal service charge from multiple areas now being paid out of non-departmental directly. Addition of contribution to King County Health Facility to keep the facility open, again, as Mayor promised, and as I mentioned in the questions that I read at the beginning. This is where the money that we will pay King County to keep the health facility open. This is where it will come from. Eliminate one-time capital purchases and one-time transfers. So those transfers that we were transferring back and forth, because we don't need them anymore, they're taken out. That is available on your page C60. And this is what we're doing in Park. This information also is available on your page C68. Increase of office technician to administrative assistant 1 in the Federal Way Community Center. Park maintenance worker moved from one-time to ongoing. Again, that is part of the changes in the approach of this budget, where we have one-time for a position. If it's an employee, it shouldn't be a one-time, because you don't hire somebody today and fire him tomorrow. Hopefully, if you hire somebody, you're hoping to keep them. Addition of temporary help for Splash Cafe. Addition of supplies for Splash Cafe. That is one of the great business addition to the community center that is doing really well. Actually, I understand the sandwich is very good. Addition of one-time capital repair and maintenance for Dumas Bay and the Federal Way Community Center. Again, as Mayor mentioned in his presentation, there's fund in here to help a little bit with Dumas Bay. $300,000 set aside to be able to replace the carpet and do some changes. And some money in there for utility box decoration. Instead of those eyesore green ugly thing, at least they look like something that people want to look at. So there's some funding that is accounted for in here for that. Elimination of one-time funds for park cultural plans, art commission contracts, monument signs for park, and deferred maintenance on Dumas Bay Center. So some of the items that were one-time, if they're already done, there's no point in budgeting them again. And that is available on your page C68. For the police department, as Mayor mentioned, we're planning for addition of 5 new police officers, 4 funded partially by grants. They're funded about 60% for the next 3 years. Increase in salary and wages due to the labor contract settlement. So that is also included in there. Addition of corporate rank structure and Nick and Derek distracted driving program. 19 police position moved to Prop 1 fund. So that is part of why, which I'm sure the citizen will ask you, when we agree to this 1.75%, and what are we doing with it? This is part of. So we moved about 19 positions into Prop 1. And 8 police positions moved to traffic and traffic safety fund. Increase in score jail. If you commit crime in Federal Way, we'll track you down and we'll put you in jail. That is, we need to be able to fund that. And again, that is part of trying to secure our community. That information.
Andy, you need him in your department.
In Public Works, we're adding 1 FTE for Development Service Manager, 1 FTE for Street System Manager, 1 FTE for Swim Maintenance Worker 1, addition of 1 FTE for Swim Inspector and Technician, addition of fleet and equipment purchases, elimination of one-time comprehensive plan updates, repair, and maintenance for fleet and equipment. So those items that are one-time, they're eliminated. Elimination of one-time funding for road marking, thermoplastic, and speed bumps. Decrease in transportation CIP due to primarily adding only 2015 newly funded CIP project. And that information is also available on your page C101. Successful budget takes the leadership of the mayor and council. From my perspective, I appreciate the articulated vision of the mayor and council and the policy that the council established to make sure mayor's plan stays within the policy that you've established. That is what makes a successful budget. Coming up with a vision and implementing that vision within guidelines that you've established. That is what this is.
Council, do we have any questions? Our esteemed director? All right. Okay, now, Councilmember Duclos.
It's not a question. I just want to say that this is one of the cleanest, clearest, and most understandable budget presentations I've ever seen. Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilmember Seltzer.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor Farrell. I agree, Ade. What a great presentation. Working with you in the FedRAC, I can see the development of where you've been, or where we've been, and where you're going, and it's really taken us to a place where we can, I think, all understand this a lot easier. And you know what? You've taken on a role I think that we all relish, especially those of us in the FedRAC, having worked with you there. And I would like to, I guess, bestow a title on you. I would like to bestow the title of professor, because of all the teaching that you're doing and all the unwinding of the difficulty in understanding this. So I really appreciate all the effort you put into this, and I think it's marvelous. I do have just one question, though.
Of course.
So we are going to put in $221,000 to the public health facility this year.
Yes, right.
But we don't put that in next year, but not in 2016, right?
That's right. We got a BOGO. We got a buy one, get one free.
Okay. Perfect.
Yeah, we didn't negotiate for that. We just offered up the $221,000 for the first year, and because of our good faith and our relationship with our ongoing developing relationship with the county executive, without even asking, he added the second year for free.
Wow. That is
So I
commendable.
kid around about the BOGO, but you hear that all the time with sales, but it was a show of remarkable good faith on behalf of the executive to give us the second year. And I think that he recognized that that this council stood up even before they had really officially announced an agreement to do that, and said, we'll do $221,000. That showed a great show of faith on this part by the council and by our office, and so he returned the favor.
Yep, that's tremendous. So I will have more questions once we get toward the end of the entire process here, so I'll just save some of that for then. But thank you, this was tremendous.
Thank you.
Council, any other comments or suggestions? Again, Aday, fantastic job. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Now, you are actually first up on your department presentation, is that
Yes.
correct? So what I would suggest we do, I think it is, let's run through Aday's finance department, and then maybe take like 3 or 4 minutes, get some coffee, use the restroom, and then re-break. Councilmember Duclos, did you have 5 minutes? You bet. Yeah, exactly. I do think it really helps. We're absorbing a lot of numbers here, and they say the good rule of thumb is to take a break about every hour, hour and a half, to make sure, because we're running through this pretty quickly, and we're eager to hear your questions and make sure they're all answered. So, and suggestions. Okay, with that being said, Aday, you're up.
Okay. This is, as I mentioned earlier, finance department is probably the most boring of them all, so there's nothing. This is our setup. We have the accounting operation, financial planning, in the accounting operation. That is where we do the payroll, the accounts payable for the city, purchasing, cash receiving, account receivable, business license, inter-office mail, utility tax rebate, and we support the FEDRAC committee. On the financial side, financial planning side, that is where we do the general accounting, the budget, the banking service, cash and investment management, monthly financial report that we send to our directors and to the council, year-end financial reporting, audit coordination, internal control, and financial analysis that we do for some of our department. I think due to the leadership of the leaders and the council, we've had unqualified opinion since 1994. That is a record by any standard, and that is mostly due to the leadership of your leadership. Award for excellence in financial reporting, again, since the city has been in existence. We may not have the highest number, but we probably have the one that is consistent since the beginning. Award for distinguished budget presentation since incorporated, again, that is another badge of honor that shows we do great work. We implemented GASB Statement 54 this year, and refunding of our 2003 GEO bond to save money, improve financial presentation for multiple reports, completion of tax audit of MCI Verizon resulting in almost about $140,000 in utility tax revenue to the city. And of course, we process the utility tax refund for our citizens. The major change between our 2014 and 2015 budget, converting one-time temporary funding to one FTE, elimination of professional service funding for the executive search, internal service charges accounting for non-departmental. As I repeated before, that is also happening in the finance department. Just 4 slides. Thank you very much. Any question?
Yes, I don't have a question, but I noticed there's a missing accomplishment, and I think the establishing the reserve fund balance requirement is a huge accomplishment that was done. You explained why it was necessary, led us through the process, and now we have that to look at, and a part of your initial presentation was on that and how we're going to meet that for this year. So I definitely think there's a bullet missing there to add to the
Thank you.
stack. So thank you.
Thank you. I would just add my comments too in appreciation for your work and your presentation, not just for our understanding, but for the understanding of the public. It's very much appreciated. Thank you.
Council, any further questions? And Dave, I think you are finished. I've got 7:10 right now. Seeing that there are no further questions, great job, Ade. I've got 7:10 right now. It's 7:15. We will reconvene. We'll take a brief break, and we will reconvene with our Public Works Director, Marwan Saloon. Okay, everybody.
Yeah, that kind of stuff.
Thanks. Susan was right. 5 minutes turned into 10. As always. Oh my God, 11. Okay. Well, we got stuff done.
I was up here.
Yes, you were. You were ready. All right. I feel better. How about you guys? Let's do this. Ade, sir? Excuse me. I guess not really ready. Oh my God. Marwan, you are up.
Do you need coffee?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
That's more the question.
Exactly. All right. This is Marwan. I'm confident of it. Go.
Good evening, Mayor Farrell, Deputy Mayor Burbridge, and council member. I'll be presenting the public work budget for you. The department organization chart, which is on your budget book at page C95, which goes in more detail. What you have is, I'm the public work director. We have Will Appleton, the deputy public work director. Will wearing multiple hats. One of the new hat that he's wearing at the present time is the PAC project director. In addition to that, he is managing the surface water division for hopefully short time, and the development service division also hopefully for a short time. I have Rec Perez, our traffic engineer. Rec managed the traffic division planning or transportation planning and traffic maintenance and operation. I have John Moki, our interim street system manager, managing the street system, operation and maintenance, and Rob Van Orsel, our solid waste and recycling department. The public work department manage 3 separate funds, and as they put it to 3 separate company. You have the street fund, which have the administrative division of the department. You have the street division, you have the traffic division, and you have the development service division, and also the fleet and equipment management for the non-police related to the street fund or funded from the street fund. The other 2 fund, which is the special revenue and enterprise fund, is the solid waste and recycling and the surface water management, where they are 2 separate funds. The street fund, and I'm going to go through some accomplishment we had in the street fund, and that's expanded in your book under page C96. We are proud to let you know that we received a total of $12.2 million in various transportation projects. That's a grant funding. Most of that money is federal fund. We did not receive any state fund in the last 2 years. Some of the projects that they were completed in 2013-2014 is the 21st Avenue at Southwest 336th Street project, the Lakota Middle School Route to School project, the South 312th Street, 12th Avenue South to SR 509 Street Improvement Project, the City Safety Program Improvement. These are the flash in yellow, which is funded through a federally funded grant. We received, or we were able to install 15 new flash in yellow arrow retrofit. 320th Preservation Project, that's the overlay on 320th. South 320th at 20th Street Intersection Improvement Project, the 2013-2014 Asphalt Overlay Project, the Lakota Middle School 13th Avenue Sidewalk Improvement Safe Route School Project, and the Federal Way High Sacagawea Middle School Pedestrian Connection Safe Route School Project, and the first 2 years of the School Zone Enhancement Program that the council funded. The mayor recommended program changes for the street fund. We have the street system project engineer. That particular position was funded since the city incorporation during the economical downturn in 2009. That position, and with some reorganization of the department, that position was frozen for 2 years and was eliminated in 2011. The responsibility for that division was assigned to one of the Deputy Public Works Director for the department. That particular position managed the street maintenance, the pavement condition and overlay program, the management of the CIP program, grant application, compliance and billing, right-of-way permitting, and snow and ice events. The next position is a development service manager, which what we are proposing to do is fund 50% of that position from the street fund and 50% from the swim fund. That particular position also was eliminated in 2009, and the responsibility for managing that particular division was assigned to one of the Deputy Public Works Director. That particular position administered the Public Work Development Standard, oversee the Public Work Plan review and inspection for all residential and commercial development within the city, administer the bonding requirement for the development project, and provide assistance to to developer and citizens. The next project that proposed for funding and recommended for funding by the mayor is the flower basket in the city center. That program was eliminated also in 2009, and thanks to Councilmember Honda, was revived in 2014. And we got a lot of compliment on how beautiful those flower baskets look, and actually they are the better I've seen them since we started the program. The only complaint I received this year was they want me to remove some of the trees because they cannot see the beautiful flower basket, and that's going to be a challenge. So
Those trees are getting big.
they are getting big, but that's the intent of those trees. So the challenge is removing the trees so we could see the basket. It's going to be a little bit. The next item is new traffic inventory O&M, and that's mainly is where that money coming from, or what the reason for that money is. Any new project that we implement and we construct, if it's a new signal, if it's a new street light, or any subdivision that the city accept that have traffic components, there is a cost associated with the maintenance of those components, and therefore what you're seeing here is that we had enough inventory added to the system that we need about $17,000 in 2015 and 2016 to maintain. Traffic maintenance contract increase. The traffic maintenance is contracted to King County, and that's mainly for striping, signal maintenance, and street lights. King County indicated to us that they would like to have the increase in the amount for that particular services, and that's what you're seeing in here. The other one is street tree replacement. What we have is for the street tree replacement, in the past we had, at least since 2009, the program moved from ongoing to one time, and been in one time for the last 7 years. So this year, the city elected to have that program in the ongoing, and $5,000 was allocated to that program, and that's mainly for any tree that get diseased or damaged or hit by a car, for us to be able to replace it. Those are trees within the public right-of-way. For the one-time funding, we requesting a $150,000 for snow and ice, salt brine production, and storage facility. The main purpose behind that facility is everybody converting from using calcium chloride to a sodium chloride, which is a salt base. And we have the salt used as part of our salt and sand application when we are plowing our roadway. By us being able to convert it into liquid form and apply it for de-icing purpose, we'll be able to save some money. And also with the calcium chloride, the name for it is actually GeoMelt or NC3000, but the chemical name is calcium chloride. it's very sensitive as when can you apply that particular product. It's temperature sensitive and weather sensitive. So many concerned citizens used to call us and say, I just drove through Puyallup or I just drove through Pierce County and they are up to speed on applying the ICER. How come the city of Feather Way is not applying the ICER? And what's happening is Pierce County, Puyallup, SeaTac, and many other municipalities converting into salt brine application where you apply it, it's cheap, and you are able to address the de-icing without being concerned about when you are putting it and how you are putting it. With the calcium chloride, it has to be applied at certain temperature, so it's an air temperature and ground temperature that our staff have to make sure and check, because when you apply it and it's not appropriate for the application, it becomes slippery and become more of a traffic hazard rather than improving the condition of what we have. As a matter of fact, we had some accident that the city had to resolve and take care of because we applied the material and it becomes slippery and people got into an accident. So this particular program will allow us to mix the salt that we have and convert it into a liquid brine and use it and apply it prior to the snow and ice or during icing condition. This is a one-year program, and that will be funded in 2015. So we may not be able to utilize it in the remainder of 2014 if we get any snow event, but hopefully we'll be able to implement it, and if we have a later snow event in the year, we might be able to get it utilized in the late winter, early spring of 2015. Now, the other item that we fund from the street fund is fleet and equipment, and that is non-police fleet and equipment. And we have some replacement. We have collected enough replacement reserve for most of the equipment I have listed here. So we are replacing 1999 street equipment trailer. This is transporting backhoe and so on and so forth. And the estimated cost, $22,757. Replacement of 2004 street utility truck in 2015 for $36,000. Replacement of 1999 street dump truck sander plow in 2015. This is a snow and ice piece of equipment, and the council need to realize most of those equipment they operate in a very harsh environment. I mean, when you are dealing with salt and sand and you're applying it, the crew almost, when we have an event, and especially when we have a prolonged event, they almost have to pressure wash it at the end of the shift, or otherwise you're going to get a lot of corrosion on the middle, and you're going to get a lot of corrosion on the hydraulic equipment. So this particular piece of equipment is about 16 years old, and we have collected enough reserve to replace it. Replacement of 5 VMS board in 2015. Now, we did quite a bit of utilization of those VMS boards. As a matter of fact, the mayor have them out on every event that we have, and we continue to do that. The challenge we have with the VMS board, it's an old technology. It's a solar-operated VMS board that we acquired them in 1999, the first one actually, and then in 2000 and 2001. And the way we acquired those is we got funding for the SR99 project. And as the first project, we constructed it where we required the contractor to provide a VMS board, and the city was paying for rental on an hourly basis to operate that VMS board. The cost to the city was about $40,000 for that VMS board. So we were able to go to the funding agency and convince the funding agency that instead of having the contractor provide the VMS board, the project will buy the VMS board and install it during the construction. And when the construction is complete, the city will take over those VMS board. So that's how we acquired all of the 5 VMS board. What the city done is also collected reserve for those VMS board since 1999 when we acquired the first one. So right now we have enough money to replace all of them. So what we are recommending to have all of them replaced in 2015. Also, we have a replacement for 1999 air compressor in 2015, and the estimated cost for that about $17,000. and replace a pool vehicle that we surplus in 2010, and we collected about $48,000 for that, and our recommendation is to replace that particular vehicle in 2015.
Marwan, what are we going to do with the old VMS boards? Where are those going?
Most likely surplus. Right now, I have 5, the city owns 5, 4 of them operational, and we're using 1 for spare parts because it's too costly for us to repair them. Definitely they will be available to us and we could keep some of them. It's just a matter that when they break, you're talking about $3,000-4,000 to repair them. It has a computer, they have a computer in them, and as I said, it's a solar operated piece of equipment that it's a very old technology, and those replacement part is no longer available, and that's the reason one of the VMS port that we have is utilized as a spare parts.
Got it.
So, but definitely we could leave some of them instead of selling them if we need more VMS board.
Just curious.
Okay.
We got a lot of events coming up. Deputy Mayor Burbidge.
Thank you. I'm just curious, you mentioned the old technology versus what is currently available.
Right.
Does the new technology change the operation significantly, or the source of power?
It's still solar. I mean, our preferred option is the solar, because you don't want an engine running all night long, especially if you have a piece of equipment in a residential area. So the technology has been improved, and therefore it's going to be more usable friendly, and also they are smaller and have a better resolution than what we had before. Right now, some of those VMS boards, some of the problem we have is some of the letter are missing, or part of a letter is missing. And again, for us to replace it, you almost have to replace the whole motherboard, which is another $2,000-3,000. The unit costs about $16,000 each. And again, when you spend 1/3 of that cost repairing it, it hurt. So.
Thank you.
When are we going to get the new ones?
As soon as the council approves it.
He bought him yesterday.
Exactly. But don't tell anybody. All right.
All right. Key anticipated project for 2015-2016. The list here, maybe you have expanded in your book at page 13 through 18. Well, actually, I'm sorry. This is the page 13 through 18 is for the equipment replacement. This anticipated key project is actually on page C97. And what you're seeing here, and I guess when we get into the capital program, you're going to see the capital program funded those projects. So my hope will be able to have all of those projects completed. The South 304th Street at 28, that's a new signal. Will be 100% city fund. South 328 at First Avenue intersection improvement, that's also 100% city fund, and that's a signal to be constructed at that particular intersection. 10th Avenue Southwest and Southwest Campus would be a right turn lane on 10th Avenue. This is a project that we applied for funding through TIB. So if we do not get the funding from TIB in 2015, then staff will be reevaluating this project with the other project and see if we have enough money to get that project constructed within city fund, or possibly switch other project that may not be as of a higher priority. South 324 Street Preservation Project and South 288 Street Preservation Project. Both of those an overlay on those particular roads that we received grant funding, federal grant funding for, and those will be constructed in 2015. 2015 and 2016 asphalt overlay, and South 352nd Street Extension Project. This is a project that we have the design, we do not have the right-of-way and the construction, and we submitted an application to TIB for the funding of the construction fund. It's a $4 million, and the city matching fund is a $2 million, and that's budgeted for 2016. Our hope, if we receive the money from TIB, is to have the right-of-way acquired in 2015 and construction in 2016. If we do not receive the funding in 2015, then we'll be applying for the project in 2016 or 2015 for 2016 right-of-way acquisition, 2017 construction. So the project's still on the book, and we'll continue to pursue funding for it. Other anticipated project is the start in the design and right-of-way acquisition for 21st Avenue South Sidewalk Improvement Project. This is a project that we were successful in acquiring some grant funding for, the grant funding for design and right-of-way acquisition, and that's a project for constructing sidewalk on the west side of 21st Avenue between 320th and 316, right in front of the Town Square Park. And start construction on Pacific Highway South HOV Lane Phase 5. This is a project that next year will be acquiring right-of-way, and construction should be underway in 2016. Completing the right-of-way acquisition for South 356th Street Extension Project. This is a project that we are designing at the present time, and hopefully we have funding for right-of-way acquisition, and we'll be able to market the project for funding, either federal or state. So this is a project we are trying to package it in a manner where we are able to get the funding for construction. And work with Sound Transit to complete the Federal Way Light Rail Extension Study. The near-term challenge for the street fund is to... Yes.
Marwan, we think we've just got a quick question
Yes.
while we're on this topic.
For the light
Councilmember
rail
Hunter.
extension study, what is our role in that?
We are on a committee with all of the other municipalities for the extension. We provide technical support. We provide city position on the issue, and we are trying to make sure the project moving forward.
Okay, thank you.
The near-term challenges for the street fund is to continue to manage the transportation capital improvement project by strategically positioning project for design and right-of-way, so the project remainder will be competitive and secure in state and federal funding. That concludes the street fund presentation. Any question on the street fund?
Council? All right, please proceed.
Okay, the next fund that we'll be addressing is the solid waste and recycling fund. Some of the accomplishment of the solid waste and recycling fund is administration of the solid waste and recycling collection service contract that currently with waste management and servicing as ratepayer advocate, managing the grant program to enhance recycling. As a matter of fact, solid waste and recycling received approximately $370,000 in grant funding in 2013-2014. Maintaining litter control operation and supply in support of the ongoing right-of-way maintenance. This is VADIS, and this is a litter pickup contract that's funded by solid waste. And participate in regional solid waste recycling and hazardous waste system planning and implementation. The mayor recommendation for new program is the litter control service cost increase of $6,500 in 2015 and 2016. This is a contract with VADIS. VADIS been a contractor for the city on litter pickup for the last 20 years. For the last 7 years, just because of the economical downturn, they have not got any rate increase. They have been providing the same service at the same cost for the last 7 years. That has been a challenge for them, and they have communicated that to us, and they provided us documentation to show that they needed, for them to be able to provide the same level of service, additional fund need to be appropriated to them. So what we are requesting is $6,500 for the next 2 years. And one-time funding program for the solid waste is, the council may not be aware, but our contract with Waste Management Services will conclude in February of 2017. So what we need to do is look at the option available to us in 2015 and 2016 as where we're going to go from there. There's few options definitely available to us. One is an extension of the contract. The other one is renegotiating the contract. And the third one is rebidding the contract. So what we're asking here is for us to be able to have a consultant that we have utilized in the past to help us through that process. This particular consultant, that's his business, that's exactly what he do, and he provide consultant service to municipality when they're going through that process. So what we're asking for, $3,000 in 2015 and $23,000 in 2016. We may not be able to utilize all of that fund. All depends on the direction the council decided to go with. If we decided to extend the contract without negotiation, that may not be necessary to spend any of that fund. But if we're going to go with renegotiation with Waste Management or rebidding the project, definitely that fund will be utilized. Anticipated key project with the solid waste and recycling. The division will prepare, as I mentioned, the potential for us rebidding the project or renegotiating the project with Waste Management, and that's need to happen prior to 2016. As I mentioned, the contract will expire in 2017. And also provide the very successful event of spring and fall residential recycling collection event. This event, the city been putting it on for the last few years, and it's been very popular with our citizens. They appreciate it, they like it, and we are hoping to continue with it. Near-term challenges for the solid waste and recycling. The King County Comprehensive Solid Waste Management Plan update. This is in the work at the present time, and there's few challenges that we are working with many other municipalities on, is the financial policy and the differential rate for those cities that opt in out of the system, still in resolution, and we're hoping to get that resolved within the next year or two. That concludes the solid waste division presentation. The next one is surface water management presentation. The key accomplishment for surface water management is the division have met all of the MPDS Phase 2 permit requirement, completed the SWIM Comprehensive Improvement Plan and rate study, which the council approved last month. Completed construction of the South 356 Regional Water Quality Facility. Some of the new program that being asked and being presented to you by the mayor is the Development Service Manager, which we already discussed briefly, and that's 50% funded from Surface Water Fund. The other two position is a new position, which is a SWIM maintenance worker with all of the infrastructure that the city managing and maintaining, and for us to be able to meet the new requirement of the MPDS permit, an additional staff needed for the maintenance crew. The other position is a SWIM inspector technician. The main function of that particular position would be to help in the capital program, SWIM capital program inspection, private facility operation and maintenance inspection, TVing some of our pipe to determine the condition of those pipes, which a program that we have, but we have not completed the entire city as of yet. And also with the one-call system, the city required to locate all of our infrastructure, surface water infrastructure in the public right-of-way whenever we have somebody going to be digging in the public right-of-way, and the inspector or technician normally help in that process. The next item is temporary help hourly rate increase. We negotiated with the union on the rate increase for all of our temporary help, and based on the contract, based on the union contract, this is additional fund necessary for us to be able, for the hour allocated in our budget, to increase with the new rate. And we have a new inspector vehicle reserve O&M cost that's an ongoing. This is mainly for the position of the inspector, as you could see below, under new program, under one-time funding. We're going to be purchasing a vehicle, and anytime we purchase a vehicle, automatically we go into paying into the reserve for the replacement of that vehicle. So that's the reason you're seeing the $6,500 under the ongoing. For the one time, as I mentioned, the vehicle and office space, phone, and computer for the new position, which is inspector technician, and also the office space and computer for the new development service manager. Also for the street fund, which they pay for their own equipment and the replacement of their equipment, what I have here is a list of equipment that the street fund will be or requesting for replacement, and also we have collected enough reserve to replace all of those equipment. So you're talking about a tilt trailer, you're talking about a lawnmower for mowing all of our detention ponds, replacement of 1-ton flatbed truck, replacement of 2011 swim inspector vehicle, and replacement of a snow and ice piece of equipment that we had since 1993. And the reason we have such an old piece of equipment, because when it was ready for replacement, the engine went out. So the choice we have is to buy a new piece of equipment or have a piece of equipment to handle the snow and ice and everything else. So the decision was to invest in a new engine and put the new engine. Shortly thereafter, something wrong with the transmission, so we fixed the transmission, and we decided that, okay, we fixed everything that could go wrong with the vehicle, let's keep it for a while. So we had it for a while, and it's ready to be replaced. The other piece of equipment that we would like to replace is 2003 John Deere backhoe, and our hope is to keep the old backhoe. We have two backhoe. One we are collecting reserve on, and the other one is an old backhoe that we keep it because you have the surface water, you have the street, and you have the park all utilize it. And it makes sense for us to have two pieces of equipment rather than them waiting for the other piece of equipment to be freed up. This way we will surplus this particular one, keep it, get rid of the old one, and we'll start collecting reserve on both of them. So hopefully we'll be able to replace them someday in the future when they need to be replaced. Anticipated key project for the surface water management is meeting all of the new MPDS permit phase 2, completing inspection of all of the commercial surface water facility and conveyance system. This is the inspection I was talking about, the TVing of all of the pipe. Acquiring additional property in the Halibus with the $300,000 from King County Conservative Fund, and there's a matching fund of $300,000 from the SWIM division. Completing of the SWIM asset evaluation and inspection work, and developing, implementing, and completing surface water infrastructure maintenance program for 2015-2016, and also update the 2015 development standard manual. Near-term challenges, SWIM will be challenged in the short term with the funding of the, or finding the right balance between the system-wide condition assessment and meeting expanded MPDS requirement. What we have is we have all of the requirement of the MPDS that you need to comply with, but at the same time we are trying to evaluate our infrastructure and see the condition of that infrastructure so we could assess for any future capital improvement. So hopefully we'll be able, with the resources we have, to accomplish both and be successful of getting both done. That concludes the Surface Water Management Fund. Any question on the surface water before I go to the capital?
Council, any questions on this section? All right. Capital is next.
Capital project transportation. The information on the transportation capital is on page E22, and what you're seeing here in this particular exhibit is the funding, the available funding source for the capital program. So what you're looking at is, I think as Ade highlighted, you have utility fund coming to the capital program in 2015 and 2016. You have some REIT fund coming in. You have some general fund, and mainly for the purpose of 352nd. You have fuel tax coming in, and you have grant anticipated, which is amounting in 2015 of $9,577,000, and in 2016 $8,800,000. And reallocation of CIP fund. The reallocation of CIP fund is coming from saving, and at the LUTC meeting, every time we bring a project that we say the project's complete and there is a fund end balance, the question is where that's going to go. Where it goes back to the capital program, and you're seeing it re-budgeted for future project. Also, in that particular reallocation CIP fund is transportation impact fee. The city have implemented an ordinance where for any new development within the city, they have to pay their impact into the transportation system. So in that particular fund, we have collected so far, and I believe about $1 million of the 2.5 million is going to be coming from that fund. So we have a big chunk of money coming in that's going to go for transportation improvement. And these are the list of the project that's going to be under construction or at least funded for 2015 to 2016. And I could go through each item, but I already highlighted them earlier as those are part of the project we are hoping to accomplish and get done in 2015 and 2016. The surface water management capital improvement program. And if the council recall in I believe September, we went to the council for the rate increase, and part of the rate increase was identifying the capital program for the surface water. And we went a list of projects, and we identified for the next year which project is going to be done at which time. So in this particular case, in 2015, you're going to have about $150,000 for small CIP. This is mainly a major maintenance project that we may find as part of our investigation of the infrastructure that it need to be done where our own crew could do it, or we could go through the small work roster to get it done. Marine Hill system repair, as part of our investigation, we identified that there is a failure in that collection system in Marine Hill, and we are anticipating to have $100,000 for the design in 2015 and $885,000 in 2016 for construction. Stream crossing reroute on South 373rd, there's funding for design in 2015 and funding for construction in 2016. Pacific Highway South, Phase 5, we have some money in 2015 and money in 2016. This is upgrade of any infrastructure for surface water as part of the Phase 5 project. And the money in 2015, if we decide to buy any land for water quality or water detention facility or part of the design of that project, that fund will be able to pay for it. Property acquisition, as the council aware and approved, is we are trying to acquire some property within the Halibut Basin, and we have a list of property that's been approved by the council, and this funding here, if there's any available property that come up in the next 2 years, that's what the fund will pay for. The bridge property culvert replacement, this is for enhancing salmon migration, and we normally improve culvert for salmon migration. This is one of the property that we have some money for in design in 2015 and construction in 2016. Low impact development retrofit. This is a project that we are designing right now. We are designing with city fund, but our hope is the construction portion, which is the $2 million, would be through a grant funding that we're going to apply as soon as we have the project identified and designed, and we'll be able to go to the Department of Ecology and say we have those projects. Can you fund them for us? And if we get the funding, that will be done in 2015 and 2016. That conclude the public work presentation. I'm more than happy to answer any questions.
Councilmember Selsky.
Yes, thank you, Mayor Farrell, and thank you, Marwan, for the presentation. So, on the land use, I've had the pleasure of working with you and your staff of not directors, but managers and experts for the last few years, and it's been a real pleasure. You know, in our monthly meetings, we see oftentimes the the monies we do get from the federal government, these grants and whatnot, and it's $200,000 or $300,000 at a crack or whatever. And you know what? I'm really glad you guys took the time to quantify what it is for all departments, because this is about $13 million, and that's a lot of money, and I know it represents a lot of work that everybody has to do to get these funds. So that's just tremendous. And because of that, we're a safer, more efficient city, between the flashing yellow lights, the rapid flashing beacon lights, and all the things, all the projects we're doing. It just really is making us safe, efficient, and I think, the overlay, the whole thing is it's just really, really good for our city and a lot of work being done. So just a question, we have a lot of equipment being turned over this next year. I mean, and I think that's great. A lot of this it's way past due. But is there generally any residual value to the equipment that we're swapping out? And where do the funds go for that?
Yes, there is. And I guess to answer the question a little bit differently, we have not replaced any of this equipment in the last 4 years. I mean, we are due for the replacement, and just because of the economy, the decision of the mayor at that time and the city manager is, we are not going to go buy a piece of equipment, but we're laying off staff. So it just did not make sense from a public perception perspective. So we were able to manage and keep those equipment and operate with those equipment. And some of the money we have collected, you're going to find out that we're going to buy those equipment and there's still going to be some reserve. That particular reserve potentially, and I guess they may answer that question, that potentially could go back to that department, and if it come from the general fund, could go back to the general fund. But the residual from selling that piece of equipment, some of those equipment may need that residual of sale to pay for the new piece of equipment. But if it does not need it, then as I said, it will stay in the pool or fund and potentially could go back to the department that paid for it. If general fund paid for it, go back to general fund. If surface water paid for it, go back to surface water.
Okay. Okay, great, thank you. And I do have one more question. So with the $13 million or so that we got approximately in grant funding this past year, looking forward for 2015 and 2016, I see on the budget we have an intergovernmental revenue. Is that what that represents, what we're looking for in terms of grant funding for this next year? And this may be an ADE question as well. So it's got intergovernmental, for example, for 2015 proposed of $13.1 million.
Yeah, I just looked at the day and he shook his head, so I'm assuming that's correct.
So that's what we're seeking for this next year, and it looks like $11 million in 2016, so that's what that is.
Right.
Okay. Okay, great, thank you.
You're welcome.
Deputy Mayor Burbridge, and then Councilmember Asefa Dawson, and then Councilmember Honda.
Thank you very much. Thank you for a very complete and thorough presentation. Appreciate it. I do have a question on the under the street fund, the traffic maintenance contract increases with King County, and just wondering what we can anticipate there. I see some numbers that are indicate that this is a major change, perhaps, and wondering if what this represents in terms of service or the need for change, and then also does this point us in the direction of wanting to take on more of this ourselves, which I think is a long-term goal.
Yeah, it's a very interesting question, and believe me, we evaluate that on a yearly basis. As a matter of fact, before Mr. Rowe left the city, he was on a committee with the public works director of King County, looking at option of what can we do other than King County, because there's many municipality contract with King County for that service, and does it make sense for us to take it on ourselves and contract with some other city close to us, Des Moines, some other CPAC, you know. Some municipality did their own, and they did exactly just that. Tukwila, they were with the county, and they decided to go on their own. And the challenge of us taking it on is twofold. One is there's a capital cost, because what you have to do is you have to buy the equipment and you have to buy the space. The space we have is not enough for our existing operation yet to take on the traffic. All of the vehicle that we have to buy with the left to be able to maintain it. The operational cost, which is the staffing and all of the equipment. What you're seeing here is the cost is mainly has to do with their labor cost, equipment cost, overhead cost. Their anticipation that through their union negotiation, there will be an X amount of dollar for COLA. So that will, all of the staff that they're working on our project, there is an increase there. The council, the King County Council, have a rate adjustment for their equipment. The fuel costs, so on and so forth. That goes up. They have a formula that they calculate how much that's gonna be. So what they have done, and the number that we have in that budget, is what they looked at last year operation, and they said, what did they use for labor, what did they use for equipment, and how much anticipated an increase for labor and equipment rate in addition to an overhead rate, and those are the number they provided for us. So that's the cost that we got, and we have to put it in, or otherwise we have to look for alternative. As to the question, are we looking for alternative? Are we evaluating alternative? Yes, we are. It's just a matter that you have to have enough partner. I mean, for the city to take it by ourselves and say, we're gonna do that, we'll be coming to you with $1 million bill saying, okay, we need to set up the system and that's how much it's gonna cost. And the saving will be maybe over time, but there is definitely a capital cost up front. But we are, I could assure you, we are looking at it, we're evaluating it, and when it starts making sense, we'll be more than happy to bring it to you.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Councilmember Suffolk Dawson.
Thank you. Pacific Highway HOV Lane Improvement, Phase 5.
Right.
Where is that?
Oh, that's between 340th, South 340th and South 359th.
Okay.
This is the last phase of Pacific Highway.
Okay. Thank you. And then I do have one other question. With the solid waste and recycling, the one-time funding programs, there's the procurement process consulting service it goes from 3,000 to 23,000?
Yeah, I mean, we are anticipating that most of that fund needed in 2016. What we are doing is the contract is going to expire in 2017. So we're going to prep ourselves to know all of the options available to us, and ultimately it's going to be presented to the mayor and the council for a decision. It's not our decision, it's going to be the council and the city decision. As a matter of fact, some of the idea that I was talking to Rob about is the possibility of us sending a survey to all of the citizens of the city of Federal Way saying, okay, what you think about the service you are receiving today? How do you like to see it improved? Is there something that we could do? Because some of those options is going to be what we're going to be presenting to the council and say, that's what the citizen want. Do you want us to negotiate a new contract with waste management? If the citizens are happy with the service that's being provided, do you want us to just extend the existing contract so we don't have to spend any more money? Or we might be able to come back to you and say, we did some evaluation, we looked at the city of Frenton and Maple Valley and Bothell, they just went out to bid and the price came in a little bit lower, they're getting more service for less cost, what do you want us to do? So those are the options that we're gonna come back to you with. So what you're seeing here, $3,000 in 2015, just to get a feel of, do the research, find the information for us to see where we're gonna go from here. And when we go to 2016, that's where you're gonna spend more money based on what the council and the mayor decide to do.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Councilmember Hondo.
Thank you. I'm not sure if this comes under your department or not, but we're talking about new signs for the city entrance. Does that, and having those installed perhaps by April, does that come under your department, or where is the cost?
I'm working with the chief of staff on getting those taken care of. I guess what is the question, and I'll see if I could answer it for you.
Where does that fit in the budget?
Where does that fit in the budget? I
Right.
can't answer that for you.
Okay. Well, when you can, let me know. Thanks.
Okay.
All right,
I'll
we're
be
working
more
on
than
it.
happy to do
We've
that.
got, Chief, any, go ahead, Chief.
Well, there's two main signs that we're addressing. One is the main sign at 320th that's actually on state property at I-5. And the second is interest by our service clubs to have some notification to recognize our clubs that provide service here in the city. That particular project would likely be privately funded with maybe some contribution to the city, from the city. The other where we have our current sign and making to take a look at updating that would be city's responsibility. But we are approaching this with the mind to say, what do we want? You know, what does the community want? What do we want to see? Determining what that cost is, and then figuring out a way how to pay for it.
Right.
And that approach has been accepted by the community groups, and we'll come back to council at some point in the future with a recommendation in terms of how to accomplish those two main signs. We've also talked a little bit about the signs that are posted as you come into the city with all of our ingress locations. And that would be something we would work through our signed contract with King County to make that happen, and that'll be part of this analysis as well.
We've been talking about this in our management team meetings about getting information, meeting with the service groups. I've asked the chief to respond. In fact, you were present in at least one or two of those meetings, and so we are in the process. And I think ultimately, as we work our way through this, you know, we're hoping early next year to have something in place. Yes.
Brian, did you say the second sign would be privately funded? Is that what I just heard you say?
At least partially.
And who would privately fund that?
Well, again, would be a partnership between the city and the service clubs, but depending on what the sign may look like, I mean, if it has a city logo on it or something, then we would probably participate. If it doesn't have any city logo, then it's probably going to be just the service clubs. But we're very much in the early stages of coming up with options, and we would look to have that funded appropriately given who benefits from it.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Thank you. More on that to follow. All right, council, any other questions? All right, Marwan, great job. Thank you very much. So it's 8:15. Should we power through with parks and get moving? All right. We got John Hutton, our Parks Director. Great job, Marwan, and our other managers with Public Works. Great job. Thank you very much. Now we move on to the Parks Department for their presentation. John Hutton, and also our Deputy Director, Steve Eichert. And I'll let you introduce your team, John.
Well, good evening, Mayor Farrell, Deputy Mayor Burbidge, and members of the City Council. It's an honor to be here tonight to talk to you about our budget. I brought with me tonight Deputy Director Steve Eichert, Community Center Manager Doug Nelson, and Dumas Bay Manager Rob Ettinger. So they'll be here to help answer any specific questions you may have about their particular operations. I am going to change away from one of my favorite pictures in our inventory and open up our PowerPoint. Before I get started on the PowerPoint this evening, it struck me during a day's presentation that if he is indeed the professor, and I agree with that, I am clearly an underclassman. And so with that, great presentations by both of my predecessors, so it's going to be a tough act to follow. But with that, I'd like to start off, before I do the actual PowerPoint. The Parks Department is a large, multifaceted department, and we serve many different functions, and we serve the citizens and visitors in many different ways. The department is broken down into 3 different divisions, and that'll be covered within the PowerPoint. But administration is myself, Steve Eichert, and a 3/4 time administrative assistant, Mary Janicki. Duties in this area include council and committee support, implementation of Parks, Recreation, and Open Space Comprehensive Plan, interdepartmental communication and coordination, contract management, project management, department administration, park planning, and we support 2 different commissions, and we also attend to regional issues and involvement. So that is the administrative portion of our department. General recreation, general fund, is housed over at the community center. This is the area that I came from, obviously. I'm very passionate about all the areas in our department. This is an area where I have most of my background, and they are youth and adult athletics, community recreation, arts and special events, inclusion, also known as Rec Inc. in our city, and senior services. And each of these areas offer a wide variety of differing programs to appeal to the widest audience possible. We make an effort all the time to constantly update our programs to stay cutting edge and right on the trend at all times. So there's a lot of research. We are proud to say we steal other people's great programs and make them better. That is a badge of honor in Parks and Recreation. Nobody invents a program, we just make them better. So with that, each of those areas have done great things over the past several years, and we have no plans to change that. We plan to continue to grow, adapt, change, and reinvent ourselves each quarter. The areas of programming have 4 creative, dedicated, and strong professionals that take pride in their work and represent the city in the very best possible manner. Our next area is a very important area is park and facilities operation. This group of 13 multi-talented, hardworking professionals is led by Deputy Director Steve Eichard and our manager Jason Gerwin, who couldn't be here tonight due to attending to his newborn baby. So they maintain a staggering 1,124 acres of park and open space. That's 31 parks. Some of the most beautiful neighborhood parks you've ever seen, unbelievable attractions like Steel Lake, Celebration Park. We have some amazing facilities and parks in our system. Don't want to forget that we also maintain over 250,000 square feet of facilities in addition to our parks maintenance. Our maintenance staff is highly trained. I'm not sure everyone knows that we have 4 certified arborists. That's very difficult to obtain that. We also have 4 playground safety inspectors, nationally certified. They will all tell you that it was harder than their SAT, that test. So it's a very, very difficult certification to get, and we're very proud to have that. It helps make our city safe, and it helps with our risk management to make sure that all of our playgrounds are in excellent condition at all times. All are pesticide certified with a wide variety of expertise in construction, turf management, welding, plumbing, electrical, among other things. So it's a really talented group of individuals in our maintenance division. We have 2 special revenue or enterprise funds. The first is Dumas Bay Center. I know we're all familiar with that. The staff at Dumas Bay is comprised of Manager Rob Ettinger, who's here this evening, Chef Scott, who we're very proud of his work. He's doing phenomenal things down there, and he's outreaching into the community, as you've seen at the community center, and providing for different meals all over the place, and he is getting great traction for the center. We also have a 3/4 time administrative assistant, Judy Ferguson. Based on those very small staffing levels, you can imagine that they work very hard and wear many hats. They have achieved great results by providing world-class customer service, taking full advantage of one of the most beautiful settings in the Northwest, and they know their niche in a very competitive industry. Last but not least is an area of pride. The former picture is the Fedway Community Center, and the Community Center is an obvious area of pride for our city, and its performance, like all the other areas in the Parks and Recreation Department, is really no accident. The staff at the center is led by Manager Doug Nelson, who's here this evening, and is made up of several divisions of responsibility, much like general recreation. Those areas include customer service, rentals and cafe operations, aquatics, maintenance and janitorial, and fitness and membership. Each of these areas has achieved amazing results over the past several years and have gotten us into discussions that we never thought we would have about its tremendous performance, and that needs to be recognized. And that will continue and continue to get better and better with time. The staff at the center is a dynamic group of professionals who have a mix of experience and education that separates them from most staffs in other community centers, statewide and regionally. And that's part of the reason for the success. Add to that their commitment to excellence and the results you're seeing reflected in the budget, both in revenue generation and expenditure control, really start to make sense. So with that, I'd like to ask if there are any questions before I begin the actual PowerPoint this evening. Okay. And mine will be a little quicker.
I think Councilmember Honda has a quick question.
Oh, I can wait till after he's done.
All right, go ahead.
Okay. So I'd like to start, as I introduced much of this previously. So this is our budget presentation. Uh-oh. What did I do? There we go. So a few of the accomplishments, I kind of broke those areas down into the areas that I described to you in general recreation. This year we created a new Cubbies camp. This was tremendously successful. It was a full-day camp for kids going into kindergarten. There were some concerns and doubts that that would work, and it worked better than we could have expected. We were full many of the weeks and almost full every week, if not completely full. Our summer camp continues to be just a tremendous program. And a great vote of confidence. The mayor had his young son in our day camp 7 out of the 10 weeks this summer. That's a vote of confidence if there ever was one, and a level of scrutiny that that we lived up to every day.
And I was blown away every day.
That's good. Thank you. We're very proud of that program. We were able to serve 330 kids, grades kindergarten through 6th grade, and another 60 teens from 7th to 9th grade. Bringing in more than 277,000 in one program. That's a tremendous accomplishment. We're very proud of that. That also spurs into other great things. Every time we have parents pick up a child at day camp and the kid talks about what a great time they had swimming or climbing or playing in the gym or just interacting with our great staff, that's potential for Doug to get them as a customer for a long time. So another area that we talked about was arts and special events. We have a coordinator over there named Cody Geddes, who's a tremendous performer like the rest of them. And it was his idea to bring this Touch a Truck event in. And it was a great event because we had tremendous support from Marwan's Public Works Department, in addition to police and fire. We had the Jaws of Life being demonstrated. It was tremendously successful. Obviously, first-time event, 1,200 people, was just a great event. A lot of fun. If you're going to come next year, because we will have this every year, I recommend earplugs because every kid wants to pull those air horns. So very fun, but very loud. Another area of great pride for us is our senior services outreach. David Schmidt is the coordinator there, has done amazing things with it was a very conservative budget, and he keeps growing his revenue and growing his revenue. He's far surpassed his revenue expectation, which was aggressive this year already, and here we are in the middle of October. And through September, he had far surpassed his revenue expectations, largely due to a program that he has really helped develop, which is this unbelievable travel and tour program that you see. It's astonishing to realize that we have taken seniors, hundreds of seniors, to Yellowstone, the California Redwoods, and the Grand Canyon. Those are just 3 standout ones, in addition to an unbelievable local exploration of the Northwest right here in Washington. So many destinations. If you're looking for something to do on a weekend, call David, and he will give you great advice on a great vacation opportunity. So that has been a great program for us. Our inclusion efforts are obviously another source of tremendous pride. The council has been so supportive, and we can't thank you enough for your longtime support and recent highlighting our Special Olympics and highlighting them again at the last at the last council meeting. We're just so proud of that program. We have a few areas that we'd like to talk about this year. We keep increasing our reach. Our inclusion programs have recently become a Kiwanis-sponsored program, which is tremendous for us. It improves our reach into the community and potential for more donors. Again, the council's support with the inclusion resolution last week, that just cements your commitment to what we're doing, and it makes our job better, and we're more proud every day of the great things we do. As you know, the populations of people with disabilities are going up and up and up, and they don't really have solid evidence why. There's lots of speculation. We do know the numbers are going up, and so is our reach into that area, and we're very proud of that. And this year, with that, we created a scholarship to help even more people, because the one common denominator with the people with disabilities is they're pretty much on fixed incomes for life. And so we try to do as much as we can for as little possible for those groups, and the scholarship will really be of a great assistance to them. So in general recreation, one of the bigger, and this is more than general recreation, but we couldn't find a place for it to fall, so I put it in here. The Red, White, and Blues Festival has just turned into something that's, wow. It's big, we're proud of it. It's so well attended that, again, we're discussing things that we never thought we'd discuss, like how do we stop the crowd from coming in at 9 o'clock as I stand on the hill with Chief Wong, and we monitor traffic going into the field, and we're talking about where can we have auxiliary sound and where can we have auxiliary viewing of the fireworks. That's a tremendous vote of confidence. It also represents, though, a great collaboration of city services. This does not happen when the Parks and Recreation Department alone. This happens with Public Works, Fire, Police, the Mayor's Office, City Council obviously is there every year, and the annual attendance has grown to well over 20,000 people. Estimates have been higher than 23,000, so that's very conservative. That is a really cool event, and this last year, the entire management team worked the event, and I think most of them had a really good time, except for a couple people who got stuck on tie-dye, like our attorney, Amy Jo. So it was a great year in recreation. One of the areas, there's so many to pick from at the community center, but one of the things that I asked Doug for his most proud accomplishment this year, and he had a long list, and I said one. And so he came up with Miles for Miso, and this is just a special, very special thing. We have numerous families in our community that have lost loved ones to mesothelioma. And we have done the Miles for Miso on the 4th of July, in addition to Red, White, and Blues. So talk about intentionally kind of slamming the entire staff. That's how important it is to us, that we know that Doug is going to be there at 5 o'clock in the morning marking the course, and he's still going to be there at midnight when we're tearing down the event. And that's the whole department. We're here to serve, and it means a lot to us, especially when we can hand over a check for $17,000 to a bunch of local widows who are just tremendous volunteers and a source of inspiration for us all. So that is one of Doug's proudest accomplishments over at the community center, along with his team. Another area that I need to highlight is our outreach into seniors within our fitness program. We kind of fell upon the Silver Sneakers program that has been just a game changer for us. Obviously, we used to have one called, what was the previous one, Doug? Silver. So Silver and Fit. And we changed to Silver Sneakers, and it was a scary change. And wow, within 6 months, you're seeing the numbers, over $100,000 generated, and almost 1,300 new seniors in the building making themselves healthier on a daily basis. Another great problem we have is parking on Silver Sneaker Day is tough, and that's a good thing. I'm proud every time I see somebody have to walk a little further, and as Doug said, it's just adding to their fitness. So our group exercise classes are truly the backbone of the Fedway operation, the community center operation. We are on target for over 50,000 people taking a group exercise classes, classes like our spin classes and power and Pilates classes and all the different things that we do there. And we have an unbelievable fitness staff that is truly, in my opinion, clearly the best in the state and quite possibly the best on the West Coast. And if you look at our numbers, it reflects that. So I don't think that's boastful to say that. I think it's just true. So with that, our cost recovery ratio has reached a new benchmark of 90% against the anticipated recovery, which is better than the industry standard at 75.8%. We're above 90%, and we're on pace this year to recover kind of an astonishing 92.5%. Just a real source of pride that building has performed so well, but it's not the building that performs, it's the people that run it. And Doug and his staff deserve a tremendous amount of accolades for that.
So to put that in layman's terms, that means instead of us subsidizing this at just a little under 25%, our subsidy is only about 7.5%.
That's correct. And that was never even really the plan, and that's how well it has gone. So we're clearly very proud of that, and to think we have now 6,100 total members is just amazing. We have over 1,000 people a day through the door, and it's well over now. That count was last done, I believe, before Silver Sneakers. So you could probably add a couple hundred to that conservatively and be accurate. So the community center's done great. Another area that we're very proud of, because we know it saves lives, is our aquatics area. In addition to being great fun and a great couple of pools that are so well maintained, our aquatics coordinator, Craig Feldman, in my opinion, is just top notch, best in the state. Proud that I poached him from the King County Aquatics, and he has done a great job with his staff. We have some of the best lifeguards in the area, and We taught over 2,000 people to swim last year. That will save lives. We're in an area that's surrounded by water. Every time I read of a child drowning, it breaks my heart, especially when the parent says he didn't know how to swim or she didn't know how to swim. That's tragic. And we make sure that people can't say they couldn't afford it, because 60 of those kids were paid through our own scholarship, which is a swim-a-thon that we do with our own staff. And we swim miles for that. And we're very proud to say we teach kids to swim for free if we need to. So the Fedway Community Center also has a new source of pride, which is the Splash Cafe, which reopened under our own management. It was privately, we had contracted with a local restaurateur. It never really performed the way we would have liked it to, and so we opened it at the end of February under our own management, and the cafe is now on schedule to bring in over $50,000 this year. That is just tremendous, and that again is testament to the staff over there, and also to Chef Scott down at Dumas Bay and Rob's support of Chef Scott bringing up amazing food, well priced, and I will guarantee if you can get a better $6 sandwich in town, I will buy it for you. It is, and the salads, you can't finish them. So they are really, really good, and you can't finish them not because they're delicious, because they're so big. So with that, the Fedway Community Center, we also host a large array of events such as meetings, fundraisers, beautiful weddings of all cultures. This photo was really cool this summer. I happened to be at the building when I watched. I had to stop traffic with traffic to watch this unbelievable carriage come up in a traditional Indian wedding, and that was really a neat event that day. So we do a great job on rentals over there. The next important area that I mentioned in the prelude was our park operations. And again, we manage over 250,000 square feet of facilities, that's buildings, and we also do the maintenance here at City Hall. We manage over 1,100 acres of parks and greenbelts, and that's a big number. And we also have 9 miles of formal trail. And the trail is heavily used. I know many of you use it, and it is well loved, and we use it for a lot of events. Doug takes advantage of it for Miles for Miso and all kinds of the other runs that they do. In addition to fitness classes, we'll often leave the community center on a beautiful day and go for a run, and that's really fun. So the maintenance division and park and facilities division also supports all of our special events. So you see them. Without them, Red, White, and Blues doesn't happen. I tease that the festival fairies don't show up, parks maintenance do. That place looks great because they do a great job. And so they also support all the high-end athletic events, all the athletic events throughout the city, and especially at Celebration Park. And we do a massive amount of picnic reservations at our picnic sites over at Steel Lake and Sacagawea. So that has been a tremendous success. Key accomplishments in this area. We brought up all of our current playgrounds in the entire city. How many playgrounds do we have, Steve? 22 or 23 playgrounds. Each of those has been brought up. We grade them with the help of the Parks Commission. We go out and do on-site inspections with them and grade them. We had 2 in the poor category starting 2014. Those were brought up in standard, so all of our playgrounds are actually not only currently legal by ADA and playground safety standards, but they're also in good condition, each of them. And we consistently work with the Parks Commission to continually upgrade as they're needed. So we upgraded features at Funland. Funland is, unbelievable. It's gotten great coverage, and it's getting loved every single day. One of the things we're most proud of is the Ability Whirl, which is the first of its kind, and we're so proud of it. And it's really, we become real leaders in our field, regionally and statewide, and even in the Northwest. Nobody else has that to date, and that came with your support and just a great community program. So with Funland, we also enhanced the educational components of the structure. We added additional color, and we used more durable and low-maintenance products as much as possible. I do want to highlight that some real special attention was paid by our parks maintenance guys that helped build that, including going well above and beyond. One of the maintenance workers has a wood shop at his home and built the turrets that you see on top in his own house on his own time. And then all the artwork you see is hand painted by one of our other parks maintenance workers, created in his head and painted. Tony Collins, who's a tremendous artist in his own right. Jim Barber was the other lead over there. We had tremendous support from all of them, but those two kind of went a little crazy over the top. And we do. Yeah, we work with the Department of Corrections to get, number one, a discounted and better built bench than you can buy commercially. And we can design what we want. Steve helps design those with the Department of Corrections designers. Then we order them, and the people who are staying against their will get to make us great products that last and are, to quote the mayor, are prison tough. So with that, we have.
That's going to be the name of my 3-on-3 team next year.
It was going to be the name.
We're getting T-shirts.
The team that didn't happen. Yes, exactly. So with that, another tremendous accomplishment is Town Square Park. I mean, I have been in front of you many times, and you know how I feel about Town Square Park and how it has performed. It has just been great. The old AMC Theater site laid vacant, and it was an eyesore. And in a very short time, through the vision of the mayor and you, it was transformed into a great new downtown park that has just brought in visitors, has been tremendously successful, has had none of the anticipated problems that we had hoped wouldn't happen, and they haven't. And it has just been great. And this park will continue to be a catalyst for future development in the downtown area, and we couldn't be more proud of it. That shot is of the brand new umbrellas we put in late in the summer, and the new picnic tables. So it's just great. Barbecues. We've had spontaneous groups of employees coming from Woodstone Credit Union. Doug Nelson was just mentioning to me, where were they employed? From Trader Joe's. Doug was walking through Trader Joe's, and they discovered it and didn't know Doug was secret shopping them. And they were just bragging about how great they loved Town Square Park, because it was a close walk from their workplace. So
I remember Best Buy had their
Best Buy had the company picnic.
Yeah, and Ben and I just happened to be driving by, and we were going to pop in and play basketball, and there's like 100 people in the park on a Saturday or Sunday.
Truly been successful, and will just continue to grow in its success. Another area of pride in our parks operations has happened very recently, and I've had conversations with Councilmember Honda about it. It's French Lake Park, the dog park. It had a pond that was not in great condition, and there was rumor, not really proven maybe, but dogs were maybe getting sick. And we did a lot of water testing and evaluating the public comments, and we decided to fill in the pond. And it is huge. What you didn't realize when you see that pond in that form, how big the land mass is now. And so those dog owners and users of the park will really enjoy a new great area. There is seed on that today. So this was some very recent shots over the last few weeks of the pond becoming a large grassy area. That'll be opened up in the spring, provided all the grass germinates the way it should, and we think it will. So we're very proud of that accomplishment. Dumas Bay Center has just done a terrific job. They have been really working hard. As I mentioned, they have a staff of not quite 3 full-time people down there, and they have done a great job of securing return retreats. They really work hard to hold the business they have while they're growing their business, and that's just so important. They try to get that group to rebook, and the only way you can do that is to have them very, very happy with the customer service. I called it excellent here, and that's probably an understatement, their customer service level. Their food service from Chef Scott and his crew, he trained under Wolfgang Puck, in case you didn't know that. So he's a pretty special chef in his own right. Has owned a few restaurants, and he's solid and better than solid. So they've increased their outreach with the Google AdWords, and that increases call volume, and have done a great job with a limited marketing budget of just $6,000 in marketing. They have really done a great job over there. I already mentioned Chef Scott. And as I mentioned before, but I don't want it to be forgotten, Chef Scott and Rob, with Rob's support, is actually helping the Splash Cafe. So it's this tremendous work within the department to really help each other out. They installed a re-roof over the lower meeting rooms. The roof was developing some leaks, and we did some major repairs there. And we got a 10-year warranty, which is hard to get in the roofing industry on a flat roof in a commercial building. So we're very proud of that, and it helps protect our asset very well. And in an effort to reduce unwanted park activity, Dumas Bay has worked closely with the police department and has gotten really good support from Chief Wong and Lieutenant Commander Chris Norman has just done a great job. We've had great support there, and we're really trespassing people who are there when they're not supposed to be or doing unwanted activities, and that has been a tremendous help. And we will continue those efforts to make Dumas Bay safe and inviting for everybody. And with that, as I told you, a little more different production than Marwan's or the professors. And so now I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Before we do that, do you have the book, do you have the summary that Ade provided, the overview?
It is here, yeah. Did you bring it up with you guys?
Let's talk about your, your budget requests, and I'm looking specifically on page 30 of the budget overview.
Okay. I
Do you
think
have
I
it?
have the right page. I think I'm good.
No, I'm talking about the one presented to the council, the overview provided by,
I think this is the overview.
okay, all right.
Okay.
So I guess, can you walk through us, we've got the increase of office technician to administrative assistant. Essentially, what are you seeking to add, and what is your proposal, my proposal through you to the department?
Absolutely. We have a office tech over at the Fedway Community Center that has really been doing more than office tech level of work for many years now. I'll stay away from naming names in this particular forum, but this person supports not only the Fedway Community Center, but also general recreation. He handles all the contracts. He takes care of the front desk scheduling and training of the front desk, customer service. He has been in charge of that, and I think you've seen some of the fruits of his efforts along with Doug's and the entire team over there, but this particular person took a lead along with the support of the city and IT in a lot of areas in support, but we used to get a lot of complaints about phones not being answered. Those complaints have gone away. I can't remember, and I think I asked you, Mayor, the other day, when's the last time I complained about the community center?
Yeah, it was.
Neither of us could remember.
It was a real problem before.
It was a real problem before, and it was really addressed aggressively because that was not a reputation we wanted. It's not easy when you have a lobby full of people and 1,000 people through the door a day, so it really took some tremendous efforts to streamline that with lots of effort, but this particular person really took the lead and is really doing far more work than office tech, and moving this particular position up is well deserved. So.
Okay, and the next position?
Next position is a parks maintenance worker. We are actually down 2 parks maintenance workers from, this is a one-time funded parks maintenance worker that's on staff. We're moving that one-time funded parks maintenance worker to ongoing, as Ade mentioned in his presentation. We don't want to have people funded with one-time money. It's not really the appropriate use. So, you want me to go through the list?
Everyone of them.
Okay. The addition of temporary help for Splash Cafe. Obviously, Splash Cafe has been very successful and continues, and we want that to continue. A lot of our staff there are students, and so they go back to school, and that puts us in a bind. We'd like to increase those dollars so we could have people be there a little bit longer for time, which is only going to help with customer service. The more they know the customer's name and your order, what kind of coffee you like, that's just going to increase return business. And so we know that by adding that, we'll staff it at the appropriate levels at all times, really taking advantage of the crowds as they come and go. Doug's been doing a lot of studies with his staff about what the best and optimal times are to be open and really ready to open. It takes a few minutes to get it open and get those coffee machines ready to pour a perfect cup of coffee. And if you haven't had the coffee there, it's great. So, did you have a question, sir?
Well, I was gonna say, you know, when Ben and I were over there just a week and a half ago, you know, we knew there was gonna be a break. We bought our sandwiches before the break, knowing that there was gonna be a run, likely when everybody got out of the pool for that hour on a Saturday, as all the sandwiches were gonna go out there. And sure enough, our sandwiches were set aside and they were the last ones there, so
How was your sandwich?
awesome.
That was an unpaid commercial, so there we go.
All right. So, and I see you've got addition of supplies. What kind of supplies for Splash Cafe?
Absolutely. Doug would like to add something, if you could speak kind of loudly, Doug.
Yeah, just one thing as a reminder also, we did add Splash Cafe operations in the middle of the 13-14 budget, so it wasn't part of the original operating budget. We're not asking to additionally fund from what we're doing currently. Now, it's just to make sure that we have it in the ongoing operating budget for 15-16. And I mean, the good news that we're happy to share, obviously, is that we're making revenues that are above and beyond any of the expenses that we were adding to the 15-16 budget. So, just a clarification, we're not growing it any faster than what we're currently doing now.
And those kind of supplies include paper supplies, food supplies. Obviously, as the food supplies go up, we have to buy more, so the cost of food needs to be captured correctly.
And can you explain basically what one-time capital repairs and maintenance for Dumas Bay Center and the community center are you proposing?
That is the $300,000 improvements to updating the facility. The carpet is in dire need of replacement. It really needs it. And it needs paint, it needs some furnishings, it needs some facelift upgrades that have been called out, and we know that will help us maintain the performance that Dumas Bay is getting right now. We need to stay a little more current. The building is old, the carpet is old, and we need to do as much as we can with a limited amount of money to increase that visitor experience and really make people feel like they want to come back, because that's important to us.
Yeah, just the carpeting itself is $119,000.
That's correct.
And the chairs and tables are all broken. Councilmember Hunt, I know you've got a question, but I think right now we've got Councilmember Duclos.
Yeah, my question just was, I would assume that some of this money is coming out of reserves that we've been setting aside for these capital projects.
John?
Capital items would be available for that. So at the community center in particular, capital, if it was truly capital, then we would come to FedRAC and make that request to take things.
Help is not capital, but
Correct.
supplies and things of that nature, and maintenance is in the capital, so, thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Councilmember Honda.
With Dumas Bay upgrades, air conditioning is quite vital. I've been in that building when it's 90 degrees outside and it's 110 inside. And since we are committed to getting return customers, if we have customers in there and they're not comfortable, they may not come back. So I know I've talked to you earlier about this, and I talked to the mayor about this and to Rob. I think adding air conditioning to that building is vital. And I'd like to see it in with the carpeting. I don't think it can wait for the major upgrade that we've talked about. I think it's something that needs to be done sooner than later.
Thank you for that, and we agree. It is very uncomfortably hot in the building when it's hot outside, and we have some bids on getting those prices. It will be expensive, but it may very well be worth it. So we think it will be worth it.
Let's explore that for a moment. We've got pending questions by Councilmember Moore and Councilmember Orselski, but let's explore that to a degree. When do we expect to get those? I agree with that assessment, especially with that big wall of glass looking westward. It does get hot in those big conference rooms, especially the Eagle Conference Room. So when do we expect to get those, and do we have any idea, should we get that? If it'd be interesting to know what that ballpark is and how we'd be able to fund that.
We would love to do it as soon as possible, and December is our slowest month at Dumas Bay. Correct me if I'm wrong, Rob. December is our slowest month?
December's the slowest month for Dumas Bay, not for the Phoenix Family Theater. It's the busiest month for Phoenix, and so we have to juggle that.
So there's juggling that goes on between the two schedules, but we would like to get this done as soon as possible to really capture exactly what Councilmember Honda just said. We want to improve the experience for everybody, increase their opportunity to come back.
Okay, so the question is, there's a request for $300,000. Is it anticipated that that would encapsulate the air conditioning? So it would be more. Councilmember Selsky?
With regard to that, yeah, a question. So that's for the equipment, but obviously the cost of the utility, the electricity, is going to be a huge factor in the cost for running this in the summer. And I think we would somehow need an estimate for that as well as the equipment.
I will try to obtain that. Get a good estimate of what it would be.
Maybe it's hard to nail down, but it's definitely going to be a huge, huge cost.
Councilmember Moore?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. John, great report. Really appreciate it. Lots of incredible things are happening in your department. My question really is, when I was an AmeriCorps member, I know we saved the city lots of money when we painted, I think the great rooms, or the conference rooms maybe is the appropriate word. In that spirit, you know, do you see that as another opportunity to, as a saving cost measure for, as we're repainting that place again?
Absolutely. We try to use the AmeriCorps volunteers as much as possible. As a matter of fact, I was just talking with the mayor today. We get over 2,500 hours a year from AmeriCorps alone in service in our parks and facilities. And painting has been done at Dumas Bay by AmeriCorps, I believe on more than one occasion, and we would certainly continue to explore that opportunity. Any way to save costs is always something that we're attempting, and they're a great resource, and without them we would struggle.
And in that same spirit of saving costs and what my colleague Councilmember Selsky said, you know, I certainly encourage the long-term plan, 4 years out or so, for us to look at maybe making the center a solar panels, if we can look at installing that, because I bet that would continue saving costs for the city.
Thank you.
All right, well, let's take a look at that and explore that. And then at the community center, what's the allocation of any kind of, do we know what the number is for one-time capital repairs for the community center?
It has escaped. Doug, what are your one-time requests? Do you have them?
Well, he's looking for that number. Tell us about the box art and elimination of one-time funds for Parks Cultural Plan, Arts Commission contracts, monument signs for parks, and deferred maintenance. Well, we just talked about deferred maintenance on Dumas Bay, but tell us a little bit about the rest of that.
The box art has been really something special that was brought forward by an arts commissioner, Gary Gillespie, and has really taken off. We have 3 different locations done now, and we have $15,000 allocated for more in 2015. And that is a really exciting program. It really changes something from something no one wants to look at to something everyone wants to look at. And so we have the 3 now, one at Town Square, one at the Transit Center, and one at the corner where Red Robin is. And they are really popular. And I have not received a single negative comment, but I've received lots of positive comments. And I even kind of test drove my own family through, and they were like, wow, that was cool. I purposely got stuck at a red light so they'd see them. And it was one of the best cool new ideas to come through an arts commissioner that just had an idea, had the courage to bring it forward to council, and got it approved, and it's working. So we'd like to continue to invest in that program because we really think it beautifies something that needs beautification.
All right, so let me play devil's advocate with my own budget here for a moment. Let's assume that, you know, a month or 2 from now we get an estimate on the air conditioning. What ballpark are we anticipating that would come in at? I mean, ballpark it. Are we talking less than 100?
$15,000 per unit. How many units? At least 10 units.
So we're talking about 150,000 with tax and extras and labor. You're talking about $200,000.
That's probably safe.
Okay, I'm getting a yes from Rob. Okay, and right, Steve, what's your?
I think it's a real wild guess. I think we need to look at it.
Right. Okay, so we're talking somewhere between 100 and 200,000, somewhere ballparkish. I guess my question is, where would we capture, if we decided we wanted to do that, where would that possible money come from? And that would, a day, would that be something that we would seek to amend this budget if we needed to?
Correct.
Can you maybe approach the microphone real quick? You know, Dumas Bay is a beautiful facility that obviously is an attraction to this community. Rob, you're doing a fantastic job there. But, you know, something like this, you know, is something about, you know, improving the business model. We're likely going to address this at our retreat in January about the long-term viability or the long-term plans. A day? Excuse me. You know, say we gotta, you know, say it's somewhere north of 100, maybe not much more. Do you think that we would have the ability or flexibility to address that in regard to the air conditioning for that facility? How would we go about that?
Yes, we will. Actually, there will be a couple of other options that may be available to the city. I think if we are looking about energy conservation, we may actually be eligible for some grants that we can go after. I think if we do that in conjunction with some of our own money, we may be able to get a lot of things done. For 2015, for Federal Way Community Center, we have about $139,000 in one-time spending for the capital improvement. And of course, for Dumas Bay, $300,000. But I think by the end of February, March, we will have an access to additional money that we may be able to do some things with.
All right. All right. So we will be taking a look at that. John and Rob and Steve, what we will be asking you to do is not only update me, but let's keep the council updated about where we're at on air conditioning, because, you know, probably one of the biggest events we have, other than the 4th of July, is our, and it's done outside, but we use that facility, is the Fusion event. And we have a number of events and conferences in that facility. So we'll need you to be an advocate when those numbers come in and talk with us about, and make sure, obviously, we coordinate with Brian about that. All right, yes,
I
sir.
will also call the attention of the council to page 9 and 10 of your book. That may be
The
able to
big
give-
budget book,
Right.
okay?
I apologize for not being able to answer your question earlier. You asked about capital reserve or capital improvements over at the community center.
Yeah.
They are the replacement of the diving board standard, climbing equipment purchase, fitness equipment purchases, fitness equipment replacement, community room A carpet. In the community rooms, one of the 3 community rooms, community room A has carpet that's the original carpet. It is worn and needs to be replaced. That is a heavily used area for our rentals and is really a centerpiece. A lot of photographs. We want to make sure that that carpet looks as good as possible. And community wing furniture replacements. So those are the replacements that we were speaking about. I apologize for not having that ready.
All right, Councilmember Honda.
Thank you. I have several questions, so I'll just go through them and then you can think about them.
Okay.
And if you can't answer them tonight, that's fine. First of all, I'd like to thank you for your work this year. I know that you went from working at the community center to running the Parks Department, and I think you've done a great job in that transition. And I'd like to thank everyone who works in our Parks Department because they do just a fabulous job. You know, our parks are amazing, they're beautiful, and our maintenance people are out there every day working, rain or shine, snow or ice, and they just do a great job. And the special events at the community center and at Still Lake and all of our parks are something that bring people into Federal Way. They're not all residents who come to those special events, so we're bringing people into the city to participate, and to me that's just amazing. But I do have some questions, and I'll just start at Dumas Bay. The mayor and I have talked about Dumas Bay quite a bit, and I know that our public loves Dumas Bay. You know, they are in love with Dumas Bay. They want it brought to the glory that it could possibly be brought to, and I know we will be talking about that. But to some of these improvements, I'm wondering if we could offset the cost by increasing rental rates just a little bit. I don't know when rental rates were last increased and if they're comparable to other facilities in Puget Sound, but
Yeah, Rob, can you approach your microphone and discuss that briefly?
We actually did recently increase the rates. September 1st, we went up by 10%, which is, normally we had gone up by 5% over the last number of increases, so we did increase it by 10%. You don't see that increase until next year. We've got a lot of pre-booked events. Anybody that is currently booked stays under that same pricing structure before the rates were increased. So, you know, we will realize that starting mid-2015.
so that could help offset some of these expenses.
Sure. I mean, we brought in about $620,000 last year, so 10% would be an additional $62,000 in revenue.
Okay,
Very good, okay.
great idea.
Thank you.
My second question is about construct phase 1 of the Panther Lake Open Space Master Plan. And
Could you say it again a little slower?
construct phase 1 of the Panther Lake Open Space Master Plan to include a loop trail around the lake and connect to the BPA trail. This is something that the Parks Commission and the Parks Department has been working on for a number of years. My concern with doing this at this time is we're building Town Square Park, which is costing money, and we had a very lively discussion last night about Lakota Park and where we're going to get funding for that. And I'm not sure, in fact, I will say that I don't think this is the right time to be working on the Panther Lake Open Space Plan because it's operating right now. People aren't unhappy with it. You know, it's working, people are using it. I don't know what the cost would be for this. I don't see a cost, but I'm concerned that the parks we have, we need to improve them. And we do know that Lakota Park is something that's coming up, and we need to probably find more money for it because it's going to cost more than what we have currently available. So that's a concern. Do you want to address that now, or?
I can start addressing it by saying it's been, as you mentioned, it has been a pretty big topic of discussion. We do have a large amount of money set aside. However, we're short the total amount for the project, and that's why I called Steve up, because he'll have those numbers right in the top of his head. I believe some of those funds are restricted to use on trails, and I'll let Steve speak to that now if you'd like.
That is correct. The challenge with this is that this was King County levy money designated for trails, and particularly it needed to either be a regional trail or connect to a regional trail. That's why we had looked at this project over about a 3-year period of time, and this loop trail was going to tie into the BPA trail, so therefore it was eligible for the King County levy funds, which we've been gathering for 5 years.
What's the total number and what are we short?
I think, if I remember right, there's like about 893 in there. And if we did the entire project with the parking lot, it was like 1.4 million. So we don't have enough to do the parking lot. Right now we're working with the consultant to see if we can downsize it to get it down into the budget. And we just met with him about a week ago, in fact, and in that process of trying to figure out how to get the project lowered for maybe just the trail itself.
So if the budget, if this request passes council and is authorized, would you be able to do that minus the parking lot?
That's what we're researching right at the time. We believe so, but I can't fully answer that till we get the report back from the consultant.
When are you expecting that report back?
We were hoping to have something for November to take to the Parks Commission.
Okay.
So
Before final approval of the budget, obviously.
correct.
We've got November 4th, which is the first reading, and then we've got December 2nd for final passage. All right, let's make sure we share that.
Yeah, so these are already funds that are in there that have been collected from King County over a 5-year period.
Right. Got it.
Steve, I remember at one point we talked about those funds having to be spent. Are we at the point where we have to spend them?
The
And-
the county would love for us to spend them at the end of this year. We did talk with them and told them, you know, we're still working on this project. And they said, well, as long as you've got a project in mind, you know, they're okay, just keep them informed. And so
I just don't
there is
see
a
any
time
additional
limit,
funding
yes.
being put into it at this point, especially with Lakota Park. That's my personal opinion.
Yeah,
But-
I'm not sure how we would be able to transfer those funds to Lakota, because it has to be, this particular set of money was for trail improvement.
We're
my
hoping
ne-
we get a scaled down project that would fit the money we have, and then we would come forward. That's what we're hoping, to scale it down with the parking being a main area of high cost. And we've asked him to look for every area that he can cut, so we can make that fit the budget.
Okay, I have two more questions. One is Brook Lake and the Federal Way Historical Society, which has been funded, the use of the Historical Society uses a house at Still Lake, so that's how we fund the Historical Society. But now that we've added Brook Lake to our historical society, his historical elements in the city, is there anywhere in the budget that we address doing more in terms of Brook Lake, or in terms of supporting the Historical Society more?
Well, in regard to, I'll say, we're working on developing a comprehensive plan for Brook Lake, but is not included necessarily in this budget.
Okay.
I think we've got to take a look at that in the future.
And my last question is, there's a new program called Connectability Club. If you could explain that and what the cost is and why we would be doing something that's helping nonprofit groups in Africa.
That is and I have a very small amount of knowledge. Our inclusion coordinator, Kevin Hutchinson, has done some amazing work on his own time with his own vacation. He saves up his vacation every year and goes to African nations and works with people with disabilities in third world parts of Africa. So he has developed it's a networking outreach. I don't believe there's any cost to it. I could be wrong. I don't have a tremendous amount of knowledge about the program. He ran it by me. We thought it sounded cool. It's mostly about people with disabilities connecting with people in other parts of the world, to know that, to broaden their world a little bit. If you're in a village in Madagascar, where he did his last volunteer work, he went for 2 weeks and worked with developmentally disabled children in Madagascar, and thought this would be a great idea to help them understand where he's from and understand that there's people in the U.S. that have the same problems that these kids are facing, and pen pal outreach. It's not really it's not an idea to make money. It's an idea to let people know in other parts of the world that there's people facing the same challenges they are. They just live in a different place, and that they can have friends. Much like our People First program or our FW program, it's about networking and helping folks with disabilities have more social opportunity. That's what that program is about. And if I'm giving you the best knowledge I have,
Okay.
I will get you more information. But I don't believe there's a cost to the program, or if there is, it's minimal to cover probably postage
Okay.
for the pen pal letters.
All right.
All right, great,
But
thank
once
you.
again, I want to thank you for all the work that you guys have done.
Thank you.
It's
And
an
if I
amazing
may
job.
say, it means a lot coming from you. I've worked with you a long time on Arts Commission, and you've seen a lot of transition, and you're at every event, and I appreciate it, because you're definitely there, and for you to say those words about our department is very, very appreciated. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Councilmember Selsky.
Thank you, Mayor Farrell. Thanks, John. Great presentation. I have a couple questions as well.
Absolutely.
One thing I'm interested in is, you mentioned that I guess the industry standard for cost recovery for community centers is about 75% or something like that. So is that a known standard, or a measurable standard that we're up against?
That's what I have heard forever. I'm going to call Doug up here. Doug
Okay.
is our community center expert by far, and he can speak to that, to the industry standard probably better than I can.
There's an organization that's a part of the National Parks and Recreation Association called LEARN, and LEARN teaches professionals in our field to follow trends, and one of the statistics that is oftentimes brought up as a measurable aspect of community center performance is cost recovery. And 75% has always, and still to the best of my knowledge, most of the trainings used as a benchmark to compare programs that are supposed to be profitable, and then other programs that need to be subsidized, or at least typically are subsidized from community programs.
Okay, so the difference between that and where we're at, about 92.5%, that really represents several $100,000, if I'm not mistaken, or a couple $100,000 in savings.
Correct. I mean, the planned subsidy annually is a moving target, but you can see that the results, we have not had to use 100% of the planned subsidy to fund operations, and what we've saved we've been able to put into capital reserves. That capital reserve number currently is about 1.5 million. We've been very conservative about our requests to use capital dollars. And believe it or not, the community center is almost 8 years old. Feels like I was up here saying hi when I was hired just a couple days ago. We've been conservative, but as John mentioned, things like carpet, things that we've been, and Marwan, I think, addressed that during some more challenging economic times and under different leadership. We were very frugal and decided not to replace, things like heavy trucks and equipment, and in our case, maybe smaller items, but carpet. That have now, we've got great custodians, but they've cleaned them enough times now where, some of those stains just aren't coming out, and it's time to replace it. But to your question, we have not. We've used less than half of what was anticipated in subsidizing operations and put that money into savings.
Right. No, and that's a great accomplishment. And I know in FedRAC we've seen months where I think the subsidy was zero, or a month or two, if I'm not mistaken, this past year, averaging out at 92.5, of course. But I know that that's just a great accomplishment for you and your staff and everybody involved. My question about this is, we are so happy to see 6,100 members now, and as that number continues to grow, what challenges is that going to present in terms of our ability to operate, give the customer service and the customer experience that we can right now?
It's a great question, Councilmember Selsky. Luckily for us, the membership, the way that the original budget was built, the membership is not a significant capacity piece of our success. Membership is tied most directly to group exercise, and our group exercise or group fitness center is really only about 5,000 square feet of a 72,000 square foot building. So luckily a lot of our customers are in the pool, in the gym, they're climbing, they're attending classes, and they're not having a significant impact on the capacity of the building. There's still significant room for growth. I believe that if we get close to 7,000 members, then it would be a good time to discuss how can you address capacity. We haven't made any changes to the kind of the physical structure. The only significant change, thanks to your support, was we turned a storage room into a spinning room. And we added membership as a result. But we're not nearing 100% capacity in terms of where our membership can grow. The most important thing is we've been able to add programs. As an example, when we opened, we were conservative about how many fitness classes we wanted to offer because it's expensive to hire good instructors. So we only had about 24 hours of instruction per week when we opened. We're up to 50 now, but that's a way that you can address, membership and capacity needs without overwhelming the space. So We have a great group exercise studio, as John mentioned, and it was never intended to be used, 24/7. There's still opportunities to grow the group fitness schedule, as well as opportunities in the pool, gym, and climbing. So we're a long ways away from having an, kind of overcapacity problem. But we have addressed things like growth in group fitness. One of these capital requests that are items on there is replacement and addition of some fitness equipment to help meet the growing demand that we have at the building. But luckily, we're not overusing the footprint of the building right now.
Okay, good. Obviously, you've studied that and you have a great knowledge on that. That gives me a level of comfort that we do have a lot of room for growth. But and then just a question about the Splash Cafe. So the $50,000 that I think is budgeted this next year, is that just total sales, or is that like bottom line net profit?
I wish it were net, but
Okay.
it's gross revenues.
Okay, so my question along with that, do you feel we are actually making a net profit given labor, cost of goods, ancillaries, supplies, everything that we put into the cost side?
We do, right now we're averaging net profits of approximately $1,250 per month, $1,250 per month.
Okay.
We think it can do more, but I'm not going to stand up here and make you a promise that I can't keep later. We decided from your support to begin conservatively. Less is more was the plan, and make sure that we find out how to run a business. We admitted to you that we're not in the restaurant business, but thanks to Rob and Scott and a lot of professional practices that have worked in the community center, we applied that to Splash Cafe, and it's working. On top of that, it's just another community, it's a customer service operation now that we're proud of, that adds to the overall experience that the customers receive when they come in the building. But we are proud to say that we are making net profits monthly, and our return on that investment looks a lot more promising than it did when we were outsourcing that service. We do anticipate making a few changes that we think will enhance revenue and profits. One, for instance, is we're starting to get requests at our growing meeting rentals to provide coffee service, and the profit on the penny for coffee service is tremendous. But we can give a good price to our growing meeting rental market, and also bring revenues into the cafe. So again, I don't think it would be fair for me to promise that the revenues will double from something like that. But these are opportunities for growth that we felt it was right to slowly feed them into that operation so that we don't overwhelm the expense side of the operation.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay, Doug, thank you very much. And
Yeah.
then I just have one last question for John.
Sure.
John, graffiti removal, that's under your purview there, or?
Graffiti removal is actually, there's a graffiti removal team that I believe is housed in community development.
Oh,
we
okay,
do quite a bit of graffiti removal if it's on park property and we can get to it. We can get to it quickly. We actually have a volunteer. We've been working with her this week. Her name is Billy, and she's a neighbor to the BPA trail. And we actually provided her some paint, and she paints out graffiti that's been done on the BPA trail itself, the actual asphalt trail. She said, I'll be happy to do it. I walk it every day. And so we provided her paint. So we try to take advantage of those things as much as we can, but anytime there's anything offensive, we get on it immediately, or the graffiti removal team gets on it just as quickly as possible. So we do take care of a lot of things in parks. We recently had a question come up about that from a council member who was concerned in their neighborhood park. And there was graffiti on a fence. And it was ours, and we worked with those homeowners and got it taken care of very quickly. So I believe it was taken care of very quickly. It wasn't taken care of very quickly. I stand corrected. We will get back on that. What's that? Okay. It was actually the responsibility of the homeowner. We're not really responsible for their fences, but if it's impacting the experience in the park, and we can do it, we try to help. But we have to be conscious of our
Okay,
expenses.
so not a high budget item, but surely.
No, but it really is
Coordinate our
it is
community. Oh, yeah,
it is
it's huge.
offensive what it says.
Okay, thank you, John.
Thank you.
All right, well, let's talk about that first thing in the morning as well. Councilmember Suffolk-Dawson, then Councilmember Moore.
Thank you. As you were talking about the senior sneakers, I was thinking about people who are either wheelchair bound or mobility bound. I, being one of those who would love to be in a group exercise, but there isn't anything really out there for me. So I wonder if that's something you guys would consider in the future, if you don't already have it.
I'm glad you asked. Kimberly Shelton, our fitness coordinator over at the community center, has begun an outreach into an adaptive PE program, and one of our adaptive exercise program, and we have a wheelchair or a hand crank, like a hand bike, use your hands with currently, and she's researching, and feel free to step in, Doug, and help me out, but she's researching equipment that is wheelchair friendly so people can roll up to it and use it. So we're actually at this time expanding our reach into the disabled community.
Okay, thank you.
Absolutely.
And then my question is regarding the utility box decoration. Question number one, are those removable or can you change them out as time goes, or are they permanent?
They're wraps.
They're wrapped, okay.
But John, go ahead.
They're a wrap, so if you remove it, you're replacing it, because
Right.
it doesn't go somewhere else again. It's a one-time, but they're very vandal resistant, they're very graffiti resistant, and there's a lot of studies out there that will tell you that graffiti artists, even the most hardcore graffiti people, won't mess with other people's art. And so there's been no incidents, to my knowledge, of any damage done to those. And our public art throughout the city gets very little damage to graffiti, except the one time when we put one in a skate park. We kind of dared them, so that wasn't our best effort. We moved that. So
But it's beautiful now.
it is beautiful. That's the piece that sits outside the Federal Way Community Center.
So how do we solicit artists for that project?
Well, you know, we're
Or do we?
running that through the Arts Commission, and of which Gary Gillespie is a member. And so I think actually coordinating with our chair, Keith Livingston, and John, and then working that through. I think, as you know, this is still sort of a pilot project. In fact, when we first looked at the budget, instead of putting it in for both years of the budget, we put my suggestion was $15,000 just for 15, and let's see where we go with this. It's still sort of a developing thing, but I think that we want to be sensitive to, you know, how was the art selected, how were the artists selected, and we're really shepherding this through the Arts Commission right now. So it's developing.
Thank you.
Councilmember Moore, and then Councilmember, I'm sorry, on that issue.
Do you mind, yeah, just on this issue,
Yes,
if you
yes.
don't mind. I think it's a great program that you've instituted, and I like the idea that artists are on there. Is it possible to monetize this somehow? You know, it wouldn't be advertising, but some way to maybe have someone pay to have their art there or something like that to flip it around a little bit so that we're not incurring the expense. I mean, you know, you never know. I'm just throwing it out there.
Well, it's a good
Or a
idea.
sponsorship of
Yeah,
some sort,
or
but an artistic, you know, something artistic.
It's an interesting idea. I think that's why I think there's still a lot of ideas. Instead of making this ongoing and just kind of running with it, I think we're taking some baby steps and make sure we kind of get it out there a little bit more. And then I think that the community is very receptive to it and excited about it, but I think it could go in a couple of different exciting ways. Artists are usually starving, you know, just by nature of the trade that they have selected. So, but I think no stone should be left unturned in regard to how we. I'll talk to our chair of our Arts Commission and see which direction. I'll share that.
Thank you. Yeah, just, I mean, maybe they could be sponsored or something.
Right, and and we're actually thinking about really aggressively going after sponsorship for like movie nights and different things that we're doing where different companies can come in and monetize that. So I think there's some opportunities there, and that could be the case there. maybe it's a mix. Councilmember Moore.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mayor. John, this may be a question for Rob with the community, with Dumas Bay. Lots of exciting things are happening, as I've stated before. A lot of smart things are being done. And so in that spirit, my mind's jumping to, all right, when good things are happening, I want to make sure that our employees are having the right equipment. That being said, does this, what seems to be a nationally known chef, right, through who's...
Wolfgang Puck.
Thank you for your help, Wolfgang Puck. Does the kitchen need updating? Does he have the right equipment to be successful, to continue doing the work that he's doing so that it drives the right type of revenue in?
Come on up, Rob.
Thank you for your question. The kitchen operation and that equipment was put in the mid-'70s. So it was built and it's grandfathered in on some health department regulations. If we are to do any improvements, that pulls in bringing us up to code as well. So it's kind of a slippery slope if we were to do that. The oven, he's able to accommodate the entire operation for Dumas Bay. We are trying to expand it, though, as we deal with Splash Cafe, as we deal with other operations, off-site caterings. We're doing a catering for you guys next week. There are potentially some needs in the future, but I did have that discussion with Chef Scott as we were preparing the budget, and he said he can survive for the next 2 years with what we've got, but it is definitely something that's on our radar. If the ovens are to fail, if we had an issue this week actually with the walk-in failure, we had to replace a compressor yesterday on the walk-in. So if walk-in refrigerator, yes, thank you. So if those kinds of things fail, we will come to you guys and ask for approval for purchases if it's over a threshold. If not, if it falls within our purview, we'll replace there. But I hope that answers your question.
So as you're moving forward, obviously the thing that's on my mind today is becoming more energy efficient.
Right.
So those are the things I'm looking forward to. I'd be interested in looking at a plan at some point on that. So thank you.
Thank you.
What this reminds me is, remember we had that discussion where Marwan was talking about the truck and about how first we put the engine in and we spend all that money, and then the transmission goes out. A lot of people, obviously, especially when you're younger, you're trying to figure out, how long is this car going to go, but how much money do you sink into the car? I do think at some point it is such a pristine location that is driving things. I think that we should really be thinking about how much money we're going to be sinking into the existing facility and what's the potential future of it, because this could be a real tourism driver, and that's the conversation I think that we need to have at our retreat, at the council retreat, at our city retreat in January, about what do we see as the long-term future of the facility. And I think that's, how much money do we keep sinking into that versus should we be having maybe bigger ideas about that facility and what do we want it to become? Deputy Mayor Burbridge, did you?
I just would like to add a bit here in terms of looking at, once we're talking about energy efficiency, I know it's a goal for all of us. Puget Sound Energy has had funding in the past sometimes for studies to figure out ways of being more efficient with that resource. And Councilmember Moore is bringing that up with regard to the kitchen, also made me remember some other things I've been thinking about in terms of the air conditioning, which I think could be a really important improvement. But when we were talking about that, I was also wondering about the windows themselves. They're a big source of that solar radiation, and we love the sunshine, but it can get very hot. And I know in the past we've had some films and we've had shades on the windows, and I know staff is always looking for innovative ways of dealing with that kind of thing. We have such a creative staff. But I'm wondering if maybe an overview of those needs in addition with the kitchen and other related energy issues might be warranted at some point in the near future.
Councilmember Duclos.
Well, I was there for Fusion, and I looked through the building again, and everybody's talking about piecemealing. That is a beautiful, beautiful location.
Yeah,
We need to look at a new facility there.
yeah.
And so I think in the longer range, instead of sinking a whole lot of money into this facility, perhaps looking at what it would cost us either to really gut that out and redo it, or just to knock it down and build a new place and have a real retreat center there. So I think that's a discussion that we need to have as a group.
Yeah, I absolutely. Councilmember Maloney and then Councilmember Moore.
Thank you, and I think that we are maybe getting a little bit too far down this path, but one thing that I've mentioned before is maybe doing, having some private development. We lease the land to private development, and there could be anything on there from, just a retreat or hotel or something like that. There could be retail. There's possibilities there that could still keep it within the same vein, but just maybe we wouldn't have to have the expense of developing it. Just a thought.
All right, thank you. Councilmember Moore.
Yeah, and certainly that will be a debated topic and a good conversation to have because, as I've walked the city, as I've even last year during my campaign, it's a concern I heard about making sure we protect that place. I know that's what I'm hearing you say to my colleague. But the other thing I'm thinking about with this building is really sentimental. And this building has a lot of historical aspects to it. And if it's one thing that I love about this building is its history. And that's something that we got to really keep in the forefront of this building because but I also understand that there comes to be a time where we have to move forward and there comes to be a point where we have to really utilize that place as much as possible because it's a jewel in our community. And again, something as we discuss this, it's my vision, and I'm sure others, to make sure that this becomes a green building, because that's really important to our community. I think it's important to our families and our environment. Thanks.
All right, thank you. Council? Yeah, we have gone just a little, but it's a good conversation. We haven't really talked about it before. Moving back, we're just on the parks budget and questions perhaps of John and his team. Council, do we have any other questions? Well, we did it. It's about 9:33 or 9:32. Let me just, John, you were going to say something?
I just want to say thank you. If there's
He's been there the longest.
Exactly. Yeah, we really, and you know what? John and I were talking earlier. The parks are really they add quality of life in the fabric and the quality of our life for our, just between the time that my family spends with the parks, and for all of us, really adds that quality. When people think about a community, think about, schools and parks and what the community's like. So thank you very much for your presentation.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right, with that, Council, anything for the good of the order before we adjourn? All right, thank you very much. Good work tonight. We are adjourned.